Hi, welcome to a special episode. Uh, I'm Adam Fitzgerald, host of Dark Hour, and with me today is a roundtable of 9/11 filmmakers and skeptics in their own right. And we're going to be responding to an audio podcast made by 9/11 FreeFall Radio, which is the media affiliate of Architects and Engineers, the largest truth group in the world. The title of their episode is entitled Special Report, Deception, Subversion, and Silence, in which it is a 2-hour and 45-minute long personal hit piece on the following: myself, Nelson Martins, DJ Thermal Detonator, Ryan Dawson from ANC Report, and Ed Brotherton. Ed, you're not much of a invested filmmaker or nothing like that, but you were part of Wheel Change LA, and they even mentioned you in it. And so what I'm going to do is, for the sake of saving time, Ryan Dawson is actually in that, according to the timestamp, 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 37 seconds. And since he is on a different time frame, he's in Japan. I don't want to keep him here for as long, because this is a long audio in which we're going to be getting into. I'm going to play his part first, and I'm going to let Ryan Dawson respond in kind to what was being said to him maliciously by Andy Steele, who is the host of 9/11 FreeFall, and Craig McKee. Craig McKee is the lead writer for Architects and Engineers, as well as Bernie Suarez. I'm not familiar with Bernie Suarez. Nelson Martins and Ed Brotherton are, and we'll be playing that audio after we play the audio concerning Ryan Dawson. And so here's the audio in which they name Ryan Dawson at the 1 hour, 7 minute mark.
A group of 9/11 research that's pushed this idea that Flight 77 really did hit the Pentagon. They'll support almost every single element of the official story, but then they'll say, "But I think there was remote control involved in the planes," so that they can then claim later, "Well, I don't support the official story. I don't know where you get that from. I don't." Even if they support 98% of it. So I think it's important to see that it's the issues that they're using to undermine so much of what 9/11 Truth has accomplished. I mean, Andy, you mentioned the idea about them mocking controlled demolition. Well, that's a more recent stage, of this whole operation, and you could see that starting to come into focus when somebody like Ryan Dawson, who is another complete liar and a troll person. I know you're going to mention him a bit later, but when he started going against the AE conclusions, you could see that this was not an accident. It's all very contrived. It's all very orchestrated. So I'll just let that go there, and I'm sure we'll get into more details about this as we go.
Right, and I'll admit I don't know much about Ryan Dawson other than he's another one of these people that this clown Adam Fitzgerald is always pushing on people. What I know, and I just checked with Richard this morning to verify the story, because it happened a couple of years ago. Ryan Dawson made some erroneous statement that AE has a position on the Pentagon, that we don't think the plane hit the Pentagon. We have no such position on the Pentagon, that we got something wrong in the architecture in making our statement, which is, of course, erroneous because we never made a statement like that. So we never got anything wrong in the architecture. Basically, the guy is just making it up. So when he said this in a YouTube video, Richard went there as himself, very polite. Richard's always polite, and, debunked him, rebutted it, set the record straight on all this stuff. And the comment disappeared. Because ultimately that's what these people do when they get in trouble. And this is why Eric Birdie and why myself.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because I don't think.
Ryan, there's a whole bunch of lies right there. Okay. First of all, false dichotomy saying, oh, they agree with 98% of the official story. I guarantee you, none of these jabronis know what my position on 9/11 is. I have forgotten more about 9/11 than these people know. And I don't take a lot of time on the physics of the building. I've always made that analogy of, if someone burns your house down, you don't sit there and wonder, well, I wonder if they got a kerosene or gasoline. When you've got a truck squealing out of your yard and people with a blowtorch, you want to know who did it and why. Secondly, I'm not against controlled demolition. I've sat there and I've made a 5-hour documentary showing that there were truck bombs in the building. Police found them on the day of 9/11. And the phone calls from the dancing Israelis show that they were saying, hey, come up to the roof, bring your camera, we're about to take down the second tower. What I have a problem with is saying there's a bomb in every window and then acting like fire can't take down a building. And these people they don't have the IQ to understand the difference between can and did. When you set the bar so high to say, well, this couldn't have happened because it's impossible, you're wrong. Because fire can take down a building. You don't have to get to the melting point of steel to make it drop. That doesn't mean that's what happened. But when you set it up and say, well, this couldn't have happened, you're wrong. And they can't get past that. Their brain turns off. They're not even going to listen to the rest of it. Pat Dawson, Rick Sanchez reported.
He has to.
See that. I never deleted a comment from Richard Gage. I have been begging these assholes to debate. Every time I was on any of these Facebook groups and we get into the Pentagon stuff, they would delete me. They said they had no position on the Pentagon. That's bullshit. Richard Gage himself, like the queen of AE 9/11, was on a long show on National Geographic with Griffin and one of the dorks from Loose Chains, arguing about the Pentagon, saying how the soft note, you know, it's not even their own words, right? It's like frame. He used slides from Loose Change in his first presentations on 9/11, and then denied, oh, I didn't get that from Loose Change. Yeah, he did. And he sat there with a member from Loose Change and Griffin saying, then the soft nose cone of a Boeing 757 couldn't go through 6 reinforced concrete steel wall, blah, 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 blah. It's like a meme from Alex Jones. And they did the test and showed it can, but it doesn't matter because there aren't 6 reinforced walls in the Pentagon. There's 1. The bottom floors of the Pentagon do not contain the rings. Do you really think everybody walking around in the Pentagon is going inside, outside on the bottom floor? Because they're not. And the blueprints are there. And if you're an architect and engineer and you don't even know what the architecture of the building is, then your opinion on it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of expert you are, which they ain't. You don't even know what the building design is. Then they moved away from that and tried to act like the Pentagon is the neutral zone, even though they said for years that a missile at the Pentagon. And then they're like, oh, gee, what a conundrum. We can never figure this out. Half people say it was a missile. Some people say it's a Global Hawk. Some people say it's a plane. And they decided for the brand, it was good to like quit talking about it and go to Building 7, because that's what it is to these people, a brand. They don't want anything that will like rattle the cage and piss off the fanboys, because all they're doing is grifting. They don't care about who did 9/11, and they're very detrimental into figuring it out and other people talking about it, because the main reason, and I've spent almost half my life on this, on 9/11, about 20 years now. The main thing, the main opposition I come up against is not people distrusting the government or think, oh, wow, the government would lie. The government always lies, lied about all of our wars, so on. The first thing that comes out of the mouth is the 9/11 kook stuff. Oh, you think a missile at the Pentagon? Oh, you think they're holograms? Oh, you think remote control and da-da-da-da-da. And it gets dumber every year. But it started off with Loose Change and Richard Gage. And they did have a stance on the Pentagon. And they do have the architecture of the Pentagon incorrect. And he said he cannot deny it. He's on National Geographic talking about it with an idiot from Loose Change. I forget which one. It was Dylan or the heroin guy, Corey, I think his name is. I don't pay any attention to these people, but I get harassed by them everywhere I go. Anything I do on 9/11, talking about who did it, they want to come in and argue about how many bombs are in the building or whatever. But then they get mad when you say, hey, how come you're only isolating it to the physics? Oh, no, they don't even cover the whole physics, just New York. And they don't even get that right. Their claims of saying we have X number of architects and engineers is false. They just went around and browbeat and harassed people saying, do you agree with an independent investigation in 9/11? Almost anyone would say yes. And that's their list of names. You got a bunch of assholes that are taking people, calling people grifters and stuff, who have put decades of research into this and had a lot of detriment. I'm banned on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, PayPal, Patreon, Twitter, Vimeo, like 24 other things. They're not. My films got mad censorship when they came out because I didn't get in all the goofy stuff. But if you put some idiot 9/11 film on YouTube, you can get 1 million views real easy. Now, I had over 1 million views back before Google bought YouTube. But we're the ones that are suffering from this financially. They're grifting on it. Alex Jones has a 1 million+ audience, and all these dicks have been on there rattling off the nonsense. Oh, no building never fell from fire. Oh, it fell in its own footprint in 6 seconds, blah, blah. It's a bunch of memes. It's not even their own words. And you ask them a simple thing like, what is the structure of the Pentagon? They don't even know. They don't know. And they don't know right now. I guarantee it. They couldn't tell you. They don't even know how to look it up either, because they're not researchers.
No,
They're
they're not.
trolls. I will debate Richard Gage anytime. I've given him my Skype. I have given them, it's Rise 2 cents. I've got a website where you can contact me too. I would debate any of these idiots, any of them. I'll debate all of them. They won't do it. They are scared to death to have a discussion about 9/11 because they don't know a goddamn thing about 9/11. I know all their talking points. And it never changes. They've been saying the same crap since 2006. And I already had films out on 9/11 before there was an AE 9/11. I didn't come out and respond to them. I'm saying the same things I was saying in 2001. 9/11 was a jointly conducted covert operation between the Safari Group, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States.
And
Al-Qaeda was not independent and still isn't. We use them in Syria, we use them in Afghanistan, and we use them in 9/11. And yes, they exist. And yes, there were hijackers. One of them had family members in the Mossad. But you're not going to get to that. They don't understand that denying the physical reality of the attacks for Flight 93 and Flight 77 especially, you are cutting off the paths that lead to who did it. If you don't think Al-Midhar was on Flight 77, if you don't think Nawaf al-Hazmi was on Flight 77 because you don't even think they're hijackers, you think they're still alive, or you think the Pentagon like went into the ocean, they had a plane turn invisible somehow and fly to Ohio and or the sea, right? One, and also with the Pentagon, you're also denying that Dick Cheney refused to shoot it down. He had 2 chances. Norman Mineta, Transportation Secretary, saying the plane is 30 miles out, 20 miles out, gave that testimony. So 20 miles from what? What else looped around DC? And I love how they contradict themselves on the Pentagon too, saying stuff like, oh, the plane did this, or something did a big circle around DC, but then they say it's not an airplane. Or you think a missile's just flying around Virginia or something? Fired from where? And where did the plane go? And why is there debris of a plane in the building? Why is there a giant plane-sized hole in the building? Doesn't matter. They got crushed so hard on the Pentagon that then they're like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about that anymore. We don't have a position anymore. But you already poisoned the well. You did have a position, and you said it to millions before you retreated because all these photos come out of pictures of the debris of a fucking airplane. And there's another thing about loose change, too. There's no way in hell they just happenstance only took pictures of the second floor, the hole in the second floor, carefully avoiding the first floor in every single shot. You couldn't accidentally do that. That is propaganda, and it's on purpose. And then you have Rumsfeld accidentally slipping up and saying they shot something down. It's propaganda. That's COINTELPRO level stuff. And I used to debate in my head whether these people are, agents or just that dumb. Just that dumb is also very plausible, but either way, the result's the same. They're fucking wrong, and they're in the way. They're in the way.
Yep.
People with real research, and you want to talk about the physical realities and things, and this isn't like some minutia of, temperatures in the basement or da-da-da. This is like, was there a plane or not? Like, they're on the level of, we don't know how many planes there were. Oh, we're neutral. If you're neutral on the Pentagon, you're a fucking idiot. That is not something to be agnostic about. A plane hit the building. All of the evidence points to a plane. All the witnesses point to a plane. And to fake it, you'd have to get and there's also the DNA of the passengers from the plane at Walter Reed right now. You'd have to get all the pathologists, all the EMTs, all the firemen, all the police, all the employees, everybody on I-395, all this, like hundreds and hundreds of people to all lie at the same time and pretend like there's a plane. And you'd have to go in the building and plant pieces of a plane that were burned. or you hit the building with the plane. They lie about the cameras and crap. I mean, I've been over this ad nauseum. They're not 87 cameras confiscated. These are all loose change talking points that AE 911 grabbed, and then they tried to backpedal because it was such a big mistake, and even loose change backed off from it. So they're like, oh, we're neutral on that now. You can't say you're neutral because you never clearly came out and said all the stuff you used to say, you got it wrong. Richard Gage should come out and say, okay, a plane hit the Pentagon. There's debris of the plane in there. I was dumb, whatever, just say it. And he never made a comment debunking what I said. He's on film talking about the plane smashing through 6 rings. It's on film. It's on National Geographic. They did a special for it. He's a liar. He's a con artist and a liar. He's on with Josh Blake, and he asked him about the Israelis. He said, we can't bring that up. It's bad for the brand. That's why they started saying, oh, we're not going to get into who did it. We're just going to focus on the what. But they can't see what you do. That's like QAnon saying Israel's last. That means never. You say, oh, well, we're going to argue forever about what, which means you're not allowed to get into who and the why and how. And they don't even get the what right. They can't even, they've limited it to New York only. And of course, they think, they also think Flight 93 was shot by a missile too, right? Even though we have the black box and the debris. And that's an important one too, because that's a paper trail that leads back to who actually did it and how they did it. And they don't know that. And their excuse is, well, we're not researchers. Our field is just architecture. Like, no, it isn't, because you can't even get the architecture of the buildings right, and that's all you're doing. So that's just sad. Richard Gage is a liar. I'll debate him anytime that little bastard wants to do it. Because the only way to end this crap is to get one of their leadership figures and expose them, and they'll never do it. He has so much to lose. And I don't know who those other 3 on the radio show even are. A bunch of nobodies. But this isn't like, I'm not just a 9/11 guy. I explained Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Palestine. I've been doing this. This is my job. 9/11 is a huge part of geopolitics. So it was a war on terror. And they don't know anything about Al-Qaeda. They don't know anything about the Mossad. They don't know anything about Saudi Arabia, Safari Group, or any of this stuff. And they're trying to figure something out. Oh, they put a bomb in every window. Oh, look, orange substance. It must be thermite. Nothing else makes that color. Basically, everything with debris in it makes that color. And it's just, oh, look at the squibs. Squibs come from fires too, because most of a building is air. And when you compress air, guess what happens? You know, it's really almost as stupid as, I think that was controlled demolition based on eyeballing it because it fell too fast. Compared to what? Have you ever seen a building fall from fire? How far? What do you think? It goes sideways like a tree going timber? Every building I've ever seen fall from anything goes down because that's how gravity pulls. The Plasco building went down. The portion of the Madrid building they couldn't get with hoses went down. They always go down. They act like, oh, shock. It went toward its own footprint. Where do you think it's going to go? Jesus. Now, as far as the bombs, they did find vans with bombs, and there was a call about Palestinians, bomb makers leaving the airport, right? But that isn't what we caught. There was also a tape that went around in the media saying Palestinians were celebrating 9/11. Everything they accused Palestine of, they were guilty of themselves. The Israelis were celebrating 9/11. The Israelis had 6 different moving companies that we know of, could have been more. And we found vans with bombs and vans with traces of explosives in them. So if ignoring that, you can't be like, oh, maybe it was a nanothermite, right? Like, okay, maybe, or maybe, just maybe, it's the foreign intelligence agency celebrating the attacks that had front companies of furniture moving that had vans packed with explosives that they caught red-handed with. Maybe, and they found the damn van. Maybe that is what did it. Oh, no, we're going to act like that doesn't exist and try and act like there's no way to solve this other than to analyze the debris of these beams we say all got melted or whatever. Yes, there is. They got caught. It's not a mystery. You don't have to dig through the debris and pretend like there's no other evidence. And it's more than that. It's just some mountains of cuts. Where do we go? What happened right after 9/11? We get an anthrax attack. It says death to America, death to Israel on it. Information about the anthrax was a meeting in Prague with Mohammed Atta. They connected Iraq to 9/11 by saying Mohammed Atta met with senior Iraqi officials in Prague. He did not. The source was Israeli security forces. They passed it on to James Woolsey. James Woolsey was the former director of the CIA, blackmailed into that position by Jeffrey Epstein to Bill Clinton. Woolsey passes it to the Weekly Standard, and then Fred Barnes and Gary Schmidt write about it. So does Robert Kagan. Robert Kagan's wife, Victoria Nuland's part of the coup in Ukraine. These are a nasty bunch of neocons, all the same people that lied about Iraq, were the architects for the Iraq War and lied about weapons of mass destruction, are the same people lying about anthrax, including John McCain, who slipped up on Letterman and talked about the first phase, second phase, showing it's a plan. You have to talk about who did it, because that helps you figure out what they did. And they used truck bombs the same as they did in 1993, where they had a Ryder truck in the parking garage. So, I mean, they don't even know, they're bashing on people and they don't even know what our position is. They've never seen any of my films, nothing. And Nelson's the one that told me about the National Geographic thing with Richard Gage, and I had seen him say it 100 times. That guy is just reiterating loose change and then be like, no, I'm not. Yeah, he is. I will debate him anytime. He won't. I will pay him to do it because it would be worth it to kill the 9/11 kook movement, go after each kingpin. Like, I could rattle off facts about 9/11 that they never known. And people watch about films and say, I've been researching this for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. I didn't know any of that. Yeah, you got caught like a dog chasing its tail with these people preaching about everything from nanothermite to DEW weapons, direct energy weapons, like there's some other kind of weapon. Oh God, I'm so sick of it.
Ryan, let
And I
me,
don't need these three little assholes talking shit about me. I haven't even had a YouTube for a while. I've been banned on the platform. I had 16 million views and 81,000 followers, 15 years of work, just gone. Puff of smoke.
let me,
And these people would flag stuff that I did, even if I'm talking about Palestine or whatever. They're so butthurt about the Pentagon that they would come in and talk about that on videos that aren't even on 9/11 and thumbing everything down because they're angry. I'm like, okay, you want to have an actual dialogue about this? You want to call me on the phone or on Skype? No, fuck no. You talk about it on a Facebook group? You want to see the pictures of the plane pieces? No. Do you want to see the twisted up steel and all that? No. See, they get to go on the offense, throw a grenade and run away.
No.
Every time you come to debunk them, they don't let you speak. You want to show them pictures and stuff, they erase them. It's the epitome of screaming in pain as they beat you. They accuse me of censorship. I've been censored more than probably anybody on the web. Like I can't even use Western Union. Okay, and it's
I actually
because
refer to you. I
I've
actually
challenged the government. Yeah,
I actually refer to you as the most banned person on the web.
because my information is dangerous. You get flack when you're over the target. They don't care
Exactly.
if you sit there and say there's a bomb in every window or a space ray hit it or whatever, or a global hawk. They don't care because that is nonsense and it makes other 9/11 researchers look ridiculous.
Hmm.
You know, that's like saying, oh, I love Ryan Dawson and Hitler, you know, or, you know, oh, I like this. Oh, by the way, Elvis is still alive and the moon's made of cheese. I mean, maybe it's not as dumb as that, but you know, some of it is actually, you know, some of the kook movement is as dumb as the moon's made of cheese. I mean, they say outlandishly stupid stuff and you see it get widely disseminated. Like, why are a million something people watching that? Because they promote the silliness and they censor the effective things. And that's on all of it. Every time Israel's bombed Syria this summer, it has not been in the news. Not a single network has talked about it. That's an act of war. Bombing another country with F-15s is an act of war. Now, you know goddamn well if Syria bombed Israel, it would be on the news 24 hours a day, all, you know, blimps in the air talking about it. Then still, the perpetrators in 9/11 had to know that they could control the media. No one else could get away with it. And that helps you deduce who did it as well. It's just added on. There's so many things. And there's the people who's lost family members in those buildings deserve closure and retribution. And the people talking about it seriously are getting marginalized and censored and ganged up on by kooks. And nobody gets in our faces more than these morons, the penatards. And that's what motivates them. And they can deny that if they want. They're scared to talk about it. They have to go neutral in the Pentagon. But it's a canard because they already came out and they definitely had positions on it and they definitely poisoned the well. They're also wrong on New York too. They're wrong on all of it. Loose Change didn't get anything right about 9/11 other than the date. And AA 9/11 is just, it's just Loose Change rebranded. That's all it is.
I never
Got
heard
the
that one
day
before.
right. You didn't even get all the days right because there was, you know, as we know, an attempted hijacking after 9/11. And of course, the anthrax is part of 9/11. They don't talk about any of that either. But that was their biggest screw up, was the anthrax letters. I mean, you cannot witness a transfer of anthrax at a meeting that never took place between two parties that didn't have anthrax. And then Bruce Ivins was suicided. That's the original. Bruce Ivins didn't kill himself. No one even remembers his name.
Yeah.
Dr. Rippey got killed too. And Philip Zach was caught on tape stealing anthrax from the labs just before the 1993 bombing. They probably had a similar follow-up plan there too. And Nelson's done great work on 93, and you know, he can jib about that because, you know, I gotta bounce anyway. But you know, it's the same with Youssef and all that. It's the same thing, man. Same thing with actual terrorists infiltrated by foreign intelligence agencies acting with the green light from Uncle Sam. You know, and a lot of people get that stuff wrong. But these kooks, these Richard Gage and Loose Change especially, they're the worst. They're the worst one. Like Alex kind of dropped it, right? He was the loudest and the largest, whatever. He kind of dropped it.
Yeah.
Except for when Trump was on his show and they talked about the dancing Middle Easterners and he thought they were Muslim Arabs. And you know goddamn well that Alex definitely knows that they were Israeli Jews and didn't say shit about it because he's a grifter. I mean, he's basically a Trump pansy at this point.
Yeah.
You know, and the reasons I don't like Trump are not because of identitarian politics or any of that. I actually think he was the best president of my lifetime, which ain't saying much because all of them have sucked. Like, at least he didn't start any new wars. Yeah, I can give him credit on some things, but he totally botched 9/11. He's like, yeah, I'll investigate it. He released some Kennedy papers, but again, it won't matter. Like, I could sit here. They just released Sirhan today, who was part of the RFK murder.
Well,
Who do you go with the information, right?
Yeah,
I hope they give him
too
Kamala's
lazy to
address.
do that work anyway. They're far too
Well,
lazy
it's
to
like-
do the work anyway.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, also, I don't get paid for any of this crap. I never was monetized on YouTube. I started doing it before the monetization was even an option. Like, that didn't even exist when I was doing this. I had a full-time job and I was doing this on the side. And I could have just ignored that, ignored Israel and talked about the other things and been fine. But like, no, it's wrong. It's a crime against humanity. It's like talking about World War II and not mentioning Germany or something. Like, it doesn't make sense without it. You have to talk about Israel if you're going to explain the Iraq War or September 11th. You have to. Like, no, we're just going to focus on like how fast we think the building fell and why. Like, okay, I get it. You think there bombs the building. Great. Fine. Bombs the building. Now what? Who put them there?
Yeah.
Or, you know, pump the brakes. Like, it doesn't lead to anything. And I love the thing that with all the great work that 9/11 Truth has done. What have you done? You ain't done shit.
Yeah.
Put up flyers, Google Building 7 stuff. Like, your best argument since 7 is Jane Stanley announcing it, you know, before it fell.
Yeah.
And there was also
I don't even-
actually, I don't even want to get into 7. It's like, dude,
Look,
you're
I don't
ignoring the
look.
fact. Look at the things they're ignoring. Like, you want to figure out how the buildings fell. Shouldn't you mention that there was a team working on the fire suppression systems illegally that got caught and did go to jail? Oh yeah, the sprinkler system didn't come on. That's an important part of the architecture as well as putting out the fire. And the elevators, not all this stuff. Like, there was a team of people led by a man from Jerusalem, busted in that. We have their mug shots.
Yeah.
We got the DA from New York summoning Denko and Dave Connell. They don't even know who these
No.
people are. They don't even know that that happened. I'm like, so you're investigating how a fire or bomb or combination in which took down a building without looking at the fire suppression systems and the fact that there was a team from a foreign country illegally doing work on the fire suppression systems who also falsified fire suppression credentials in their letters and all that, because they don't even know about it. And the reason they don't know about it is 9/11, AE 9/11 sucks all the air out of the room, talking about beam points, own footprint, building by fire, derp, derp, derp. And no one else gets to hear all this other information because they act like a 9/11 dragnet. You go to Google something, first thing you see is the bullshit from Loose Change or AE 9/11.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're effectively standing in the way of all this great information that real researchers have dug up on 9/11. And at the same time, kookifying it, they're doing the Alex Jones thing where you say something that's kind of true and dump a big bucket of crazy sauce on it so that you alienate anybody normal, because they don't want to put up with it. No one wants to be associated with that. It was like 9/11 kookery. And the other side, there's another group too, and this is not a 9/11 or any of that. They're not guilty of this one, but I'm just going to pick on these people. There's another group of people that go full tilt the other direction, like, oh yeah, Israel, it's the effing Jays. I'm not going to say the word because it's YouTube for some people. You know, the juice, you know what I'm saying? Orange juice. They blame it on those people, like all of them, right? And that's just, that kind of anti-Semitic trash serves the same purpose as the kookification. If you can't kookify it with other nonsense, like easily debunkable fourth grade physics kind of stuff nonsense, then just debunk it by, you know, racism or whatever, or something like that.
Yeah.
And those are the two groups, and they work in tandem. You'll see that. And a lot of them are
Yeah.
Zionists themselves. Right? The Zionists going around saying all this anti-Semitic crap and then trying to attach that to somebody's name. Israel is not, and it might be an ethnic state, no, but it does not represent an entire people on the planet. It's insane. It's like blaming everything CIA's ever done on its whiteness or something, right? You can't, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Although nowadays people are, they replace one self-shaming religion with a new one, which is this collectivist guilt on, you know, anything that's happened anywhere by people who look like you, that means you're responsible for it. I mean, it's just total nonsense. I pray for the world, man. People are just falling apart. But 9/11, that's one of the things, like everything else I've got into, the lies about the gas in Syria, the lies about WMDs in Iraq, I don't get a lot of opposition other than a few neocons and, you know, military industrial complex profiteers and stuff. Generally, the public's on board. When you present the evidence, they go, okay, they're lying about Syria, they lied about Iraq, they also lied about Libya. When you get to 9/11, though, it's like, oh no, you got a big fat tar baby in the way because of the Alex Jones and Loose Change and AE 9/11. They have been more detrimental to 9/11 truth. The irony is they've been more detrimental to 9/11 truth than any other organization. The fucking CIA could not have done a better job than what these morons did on their own.
Yeah.
Is there any other spot
That's-
on the video that they talk about Ryan?
No, that's it.
Have you
Okay.
ever seen me delete comments on my like? I don't even read them half the time. You know how many comments my videos would get? Like I'm gonna notice one by one person. I'm like, oh, I'm sure you debunked the whole thing. You can't debunk it. You can't. The Pentagon doesn't have rings on the first two floors. That is a fact. And you said they did. And that's on tape. There's no debunking. These people are serial
on.
liars. Serial liars.
He also,
And I'm okay, like if you have someone like used to think a missile hit or used to think a bomb in every window, whatever, but then they got better information and changed their mind, great. That doesn't make you a hypocrite or anything. The more information and knowledge you get, the better and more, sorry, I had a motorcycle going by, the more informed your opinion is. And you say, oh yeah, okay, that, I used to think that's not true. Well, I didn't know about this. And over years, you're supposed to improve your opinion. These people don't. They stagnate. They pick the conclusion and work backwards. They decided what it was, and then they try and rationalize everything to fit the position that they're married to, which is not scientific. No philosophy would adhere to that either. It's a cult. It's a religion. It's not even a religion. It's a cult. Like this has to be the answer because I've put so much energy and investment in it. It would bruise their little ego if it got popped. So they're just going to hold on to it. And they also want to dictate the parameters and say, well, we're not going to talk about the Pentagon because they got everything wrong on it. So no one else can either. Well, we're not going to talk about this part because, and then no one else can. Like, oh, okay, you're going to narrow it down to all these things, but you can't backtrack and do that. You already very loudly put out your opinions on all that stuff and you're wrong. You're useless. You're less than useless because someone is useless. It's like, oh, okay, just never say anything about 9/11 at all. That's kind of useless. What they're saying is disinformation, so they're having a negative impact on the whole thing. They are the 9/11
Exactly.
movement. They have created this tar baby.
I'm
And I'm
gonna,
telling you,
Right.
You know,
No.
like even my own family, like, oh my God, you don't believe in that. I got to spend the first 20 minutes debunking all the bullshit from Loose Change and Richard Gage before I even can start explaining what actually happened.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Everything. Yep. Is that true? You got to sit there and go, no,
Yes.
I don't think that. No, I don't.
You have
say
to
that.
you have to disassociate yourself from all that original bullshit. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
It's
I'm
all
actually
the,
gonna
all the
play-
crap
I'm
they
actually
say.
I'm going to play the clip of Richard Gage talking about the Pentagon, and which
Thank you. Yeah.
actually what's
He's like,
Dylan
he's a
Avery's
bold-faced
in
fucking
the
liar.
same room.
Is successful. Truthers may not be convinced.
Oh, by the way, I got to bounce, guys.
Finds the
Thanks so
Pentagon.
much.
All
for
right,
this.
bye.
Okay, Ryan.
I already
Good
know what
seeing
he's
you,
going
man.
to say. He's always full of shit. I'll come back anytime and I'll debate anybody. Peace.
All right,
Take
Ryan.
care.
Okay, buddy.
We'll
Take
talk
care,
more.
pal. Take care. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the clip that he was talking about, and I'd like to get your guys' opinions on that. And by the way, for everybody's listening, that's just the appetizer. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, right.
now
Kinda-
it's
yeah. Yeah. No, I guess we'll actually start the everything from the beginning as far as
that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna play this clip a little bit just
Sure.
to show, you know, that yeah, he basically did take a position on the Pentagon.
Pictures
Yeah.
confusing to use in any evaluation.
So whether an explosion made that hole or some flying device made that hole, I don't think you can make a relevant conclusion based on looking at the hole.
See, I mean, I don't know. He's an engineer.
yeah. But
No.
since then, but here the thing is since then he acknowledges he's wrong on the size of the hole. Okay, because you know he's appeared. I've seen him appear on David Chandler's monthly Colorado Truth Hangout, and he says, well, you know, it's very convincing because of the hole. Okay, well now you must acknowledge you got it wrong. You have nothing to be in denial of. The fucking plane hit the Pentagon. Done.
And not just that, but I've also heard him in an interview say, I when it comes to Israel or Israel's involvement, et cetera, or things like that, or geopolitics, I don't know, but I defer to Ryan Dawson in his work.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
He's actually said that.
Yeah, he said that on the her name was Janine Collins, or her last name's Collins, I think it was, and I have that. Yeah,
Memory. I don't even remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I made a little short video about this. What you just showed right now with Richard Gage and all that. I made, and then when her name is Colleen Harding. Yeah, when Colleen Harding interviewed Richard, and Richard said that about Dawson. Yeah, I have that a really short video. So yeah.
Okay, we covered Ryan Dawson, and he covered that pretty well. Now we're going to get to Nelson and Ed. And unfortunately, Nelson, you were like the focal point of this episode that they did.
Shit, I'm like the star of the meme. I'm the star of their ad. You know?
And I must say, I'm glad you
I
mentioned,
told
because we mentioned this before. The flyer is great.
Yeah, the flyer looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It looks like one of my old club flyers. It looks like I have Adam and Ed as my guest DJs for my
and
night.
I never wear a hat.
Yeah, yeah, you hardly ever wear exactly.
I
It was
never
well
wear a hat.
done. I like the color, everything. It was
It came out
yeah,
great. It
yeah,
came out great. I
yeah,
like who did that.
yeah.
What I'm going to do
It's
is
probably Bernie.
Yeah,
No, I don't think it was. No.
It looks like a Bernie job, to be honest with you.
I didn't know he was able to do that. I'm like, wow, he actually has talent.
All right, I'm going to play the beginning of the audio because he mentioned you right off the bat, and here it is.
Founder of Truth and Art TV. He is a Christian conservative patriot and digital soldier with a diverse background in medicine, psychology, IT, and media production. Bernie is an author. His book is The Art of Overcoming the New World Order. It's a book about government corruption and deception and how to break free from mental enslavement during the current era of information war. He's also a Trump-supporting Marine Corps veteran and a musician with several music albums recorded over the years. And again, he's joined by Craig McKee. Craig has been a journalist in Montreal for over 20, well, actually more than 30 years as of a couple of years ago, and he's covered news and entertainment in that time. He's won 8 provincial and national weekly newspaper awards. And of course, He's a writer here at AE 911 Truth and the writer over at Truth and Shadows. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here, Andy.
So Kelly David, our chief
Can you
operating
pause it real quick?
be here
Oh, yeah,
today
sure,
as well.
go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
Yeah, he said that Bernie Suarez is an author of a book called "The Truth and Art and Overcoming the New World Order," and how to break free from this mental enslavement. You first have to actually do that yourself before you can write a book about it. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and then I have questions about like, well, the first thing he's trying to say he's a recording artist and all that. Dude, he's not an independent recording artist. He just puts out his own stuff online. I mean, anybody could put their own music out. I mean, he's adding all this BS credentials, even as a doctor. Doctor of what? I mean, I think Ed's asked that question. I mean, has he been proven to you, Ed, that he's a doctor of,
No, I'm not going to question it because it's like irrelevant to me. He does talk about it in the video, or no, in a different video he talked about it, his credentials and his past and stuff. I'm not going to question it. It's just it's irrelevant to me.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with McKee too.
He had 2 years of He had 2 years of medicine, and then he quit, and because he's
And you'll notice
kind of
too,
he kind of made a point, kind of a drifter like that. He
right. You'll notice too, what's missing in their backgrounds is anything relating to the subject of September 11, 2001.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, McKee writing for all these newspapers or whatever. If he did, I'm surprised you can. I mean, with the research he's done on the Pentagon, it's just like, okay, well, you didn't say investigative researcher, get investigative writer. He's not. He doesn't knock on doors. He doesn't. He stays away from where the evidence is at, where the witnesses are.
All right, let's proceed.
Busy filming the last interview that we have to film of our newest documentary coming out very soon here at AE 911 Truth. So she's got to attend to that work. But we're going to be covering this here today with these two gentlemen, and we're going to be talking about some pretty bad characters out there. Oh. And we're going to be reading some of their words out to this audience. Now, I just want to warn everyone, some of this language is a bit graphic, so I'm issuing this advisory. We're not trying to be gratuitous on this show at all. The bad words are going to come from these people, not us. But we want to report the facts, and I want the audience to know exactly who these people really are, how they really are. And I'll also be providing a link to a PDF of these conversations via Dropbox on 911freefall.com so you can look at it for yourself. And I also want to say this. People come to different conclusions from the research of 9/11 and other world events. I don't discriminate or target people based on their views of things like the Pentagon, for instance. I made my own position on that issue clear last week. And for years, I've known a lot of people's positions on the Pentagon and other things, and it never influenced who I brought on the show or whose work I featured. What did
you know what his position is?
Right. What'd you say, Ed? You're on mute.
Anyone know what his position is, or do I even have to ask?
Yeah, I think I know what it is. His position is on the fence.
Oh, that's a safe place to be.
Andy Steele does say in the video that he doesn't believe planes were hijacked.
Well, okay, there you go.
That's why.
Yeah, but he could be buying into the whole Honecker thing that they're all drones and swaps. So that's right, he's keeping himself open at that. It's typical. They're just too scared.
Also,
I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Look, when I have my guests, the Pentagon or any of that stuff. Sorry, I have a litmus test. Oh well.
Well, you should.
Yeah, I have a higher set of standards of who I'd want to have on my show, or who I want to work with, or who I want to communicate on these issues of 9/11. Sorry.
Ed, what's the problem of having somebody come on a truth organization or a radio show and espousing speculative ideas that are infringing or are catering to the irrational?
The irrational will listen to it.
And the problem is that they'll spread this.
And they'll spread it.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's the reason I think the difference between us and you, Andy Steele, is that, yes, as Nelson said, we'll have a litmus test because we actually care what's true and what's not. Obviously, you don't. So I'm gonna keep going.
Behavior and direct attacks on me and others on the staff from a particular side of this whole thing, which we can talk about a little bit later. But I just want to get that very clear at the beginning of the show. Also, we're going to take as long as it takes with this show. I don't know how long the show is going to go for, but we're going to go for as long as it needs to. Bernie's actually cleared his day, and he's a very busy guy. So he's cleared his day just so that he can appear here on 9/11 FreeFall. So I'll talk to the networks and work something out. But regardless, you can always go to 911freefall.com.
Secretary is very busy cleaning that schedule.
Episode. So with all that said, let's talk about the genesis of this show today. We're going to tell you in story form so that you can experience it just as I did and just as we all did here on this call. As you may or may not know, Bernie and I go way back. He helped me start this podcast back in 2012, I think it was, June of 2012. And even though we don't talk every single night, we've stayed in contact. We're friends. We pretty much know what each other is about. Me and Craig are friends too. And Craig has heard me talk about Bernie before in the past. So that's why about a year ago, Craig and I were confused when Craig noticed something out on Facebook and mentioned it to me. Craig, you want to tell us what you noticed out there on Facebook?
Yeah, I was just, I sort of follow some of the discussions on Facebook, about 9/11 and particularly, the Pentagon issue, which is kind of an issue that's been used to really kind of divide the movement very effectively. And so I was looking at this one and I saw Bernie Suarez and I thought, oh, that's the guy that Andy told me about who co-founded the podcast. And so I immediately I went straight to that and started reading. And this person was talking about how, basically a 757 really did hit the Pentagon and kind of talking like some of the people that I'm quite familiar with. And I thought, well, I'm pretty sure Andy told me that Bernie doesn't think that. So I was surprised that here he was, giving the opposite position, I guess, than what he'd given to Andy in the past. So I thought that was kind of peculiar and a little bit dismaying, I guess, because I thought, well, we don't like to have people go over to that side.
We don't like.
Stop the video. Real
Stop
quick.
Stop there. Yeah.
Stop that video right there.
Oh, we don't like people going over to the other side.
Well, it just goes to show you where their mindset is at. They're already like picking sides, like over here, over there. It's like they're not looking for truth.
Yeah, it's like, how about the side that will win a court case?
Exactly.
Yeah, how about the side? Sorry.
That was just an insane statement right there. It just tell you exactly where their mindset is at. Tell you exactly what this is all about for them. It's about here. Let me put you in this category so I can then dismiss you. I'm not going to address your issue, your arguments, because I can't. So I'm going to reduce you to the least common denominator so I can attack that straw man and not actually have to address your issue, not address the issues you raise. It tells you exactly right there where they're at.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
And they admit that right off the bat. And this is the 5th minute of the podcast. So they actually drew the line very early in the sand.
Oh yeah. We do this as comedy material as soon as this started. I mean, this is just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. I mentioned to Andy and I just said, gee, what do you think about this? And I guess from there you kind of looked into it a bit further, Andy, and figured out that it wasn't actually Bernie at all. So I guess that's kind of where you came into it, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I see this. I see Bernie Suarez, and sure enough, it's got his picture there. It says Bernie Suarez, but I'm looking at some of the things that he's saying. It's not just about the Pentagon. It's the way that he's talking. I mean, it's like, this is not Bernie. This is, unless he's been hit on the head or something or replaced with an evil doppelganger or something like that, this is just not Bernie. So I decided to call him up and ask him about this profile on Facebook and what it's saying, just to confirm what I was already thinking at this point. Bernie, why don't you tell our audience what you told me and what your reaction was when I told you about this profile on Facebook?
Well, I can't remember. Just, let's see here. Well, it was right away. I looked at this profile right away. talking about some guy named Nelson / thermal detonator. And I thought to myself, gee, and let me guess who my guess would be who's doing this. It was so obvious. It was portraying this kind of fantasy, I guess, this fictitious Bernie that exists in their heads only. That a busy guy like me would even remember characters from Los Angeles, a city I don't even live in, that I moved out of years ago, from an organization that had so few people in a room. But yeah, so it was just.
He was one of them, by the way.
Yeah,
he was one of them.
Pause that right there. Yeah. Fewer people, thanks to him. He helped reduce the membership.
Correct.
Pushing all these complete Alex Jones standards.
Let me touch on that, because I was there during all that.
Yeah.
All right. We Are Change LA had 700 plus meetup members. Okay. We had at the peak of the activity, we had around 60 some very active people. Okay. We and then when steering committee members started to leave and move away, they moved into different states, dealing with other issues, whatever. The main funding mechanism had moved away and left. So there was, and then also the 9/11 narrative started to stagnate, and no new information was being revealed that was important, that we know now, and as a result, it became the same looping talking points over and over and over again. And I have always told everyone from the beginning, when my involvement in We Are Change LA, that I was always about accountability and bringing those who did this to justice. I don't care where it leads. And I've always been open and vocal about that. Everyone knows it. And so when you have a bunch of looping, when you have a looping narrative like that, same old talking points over and over again, eventually people become apathetic. And they start to, there's nothing new going on, and they start not to show up. So you end up with this very active group, about 60, dwindling down to about 30. This is shortly after Occupy LA, Occupy Wall Street, by the way, right in that period. Yeah. So and then Bernie the whole time has been part of this group. So so in an effort to try and fill in the gap as far as what we're talking about, so you didn't have this constant loop of the same old narrative about 9/11, then that's when all this other stuff started creeping in, the Sandy Hook crap, the Boston bombing crap,
or chemtrails before that, even chemtrails before that.
The chemtrail stuff before that, so you end up with this, and then I started seeing where it was going. I was trying to figure out a solution to the problem with respect to accountability. I came up with an accountability campaign idea. I presented it to some of the members. They liked it. I initiated it. And to Bernie's credit, I will give him credit for this. He was the only one who did anything with respect to that. I'll give him credit for that. However, he was the only one. Therefore, the accountability campaign that was created was a failure with respect, because there wasn't enough participation. Okay, whatever. So I learned something there, and then that moved me forward to look at other solutions that I was focusing on, that I also presented, that the group liked and wanted to pursue, and I was focusing on that, which led me to me and Nelson with looking at the evidence in a new unit of time, looking at all the evidence of 9/11 in a new light, being able to go back and relook at all this stuff, because it was all coming out like a fire hose, drinking through a fire hose at the time, and nobody was really vetting the information as it was coming. They were just accepting this and accepting that without really doing the work to make sure that the evidence that was coming out was actually correct, credible, truthful, and made sense. So Bernie's discussion here about kind of belittling the group because of the size, he's a bit disingenuous, because number one, he's part of that group, and he knows exactly why the size was dwindling the way it was, even though it was still one of the largest We Are Change organizations in the world. Yeah. So anyway, That's my 2 cents on that.
And I just want to add to that because it's like, look, he didn't. I mean, Ed didn't even know that Bernie even started this podcast with Steele. I mean, that's just how out of the loop. He didn't even like inform anybody. You know, he was never even on social media. He never added anything to the group. I remember coming back to a meeting like in 2014, and you know, somebody there was just, you know, was talking about global warming and all that. And, you know, he disagrees with it, but he just got into it, and that person never came back. You know, you know, if it even became other issues that they didn't, you know, that he didn't agree with, yeah, he would make a, you know, spectacle about it, and he just helped to turn people away. So if the group became smaller, well, Bernie, it's your fault. It's because of your nonsense you were bringing into the group, and you know, not really serious, never focused, and we'll get into that. But
and ironically, we started attracting more people that were like-minded with Bernie, and then I started to notice the group turning more into a conspiracy theory support group than a 9/11 activist group.
Yeah, it started becoming like only annually. We were only worried about doing the anniversaries to pass out.
Right.
It just became
which was kind of my choice because I felt we went like I said, we had 700 some members, and I was like, okay, we did the job of harnessing that energy, of harnessing those numbers. Now it's time to make them active, get them doing something as far as how do we leverage those numbers. So I felt like we needed to move into another phase, and so that's why I kind of stopped focusing on the street activism so much. But that was kind of like my decision. But
but it was a good decision.
And I was also waiting for the numbers to rise up a little bit more, so I can have more steering committee members, so we can actually have proper voting on decisions we make. Because I honestly didn't want to run the darn organization.
Yeah.
I wanted to step aside, but I didn't want to just hand it off to any of those guys in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was kind of like I was trying to I guess I'm protecting it out, look at hindsight a little bit.
Sure.
I do want to mention here just a little bit so I don't forget, because I have short-term memory loss. So, and it's totally unrelated to your Bernie Flores story. David Chandler. Now, I want to make this unclear because David Chandler's not here, and I spoke with him yesterday by phone, and I want to speak on his behalf because he told me to. And I wanted to mention this even before I spoke with him as well, is that in this video, in this podcast, which I'm not going to play the whole thing, I'm going to play Nelson and Ed's parts, and we're going to play the end just to short down the time.
Yeah, it's so long. It's so yeah.
Yeah, it's really long. And it's basically, for everyone listening, they didn't even bring up any of our work. They just complained about our attitude. Anyway, David Chandler is being lumped in with us, thinking that we're just one big group and we're attacking architects and engineers. That is not the case. David Chandler is his own man, just like Nelson is his own man, Ed is his own man, and I'm my own man. Now, yeah, me, Ed, and Nelson basically probably agree with 90% of not everything relating to 9/11 and areas related to it. I don't have a position on World Trade Center 7. I'm very lacking, and I can't speak. When I say I can't speak on the matter, I literally cannot.
Yeah.
I'm just terrible in physics. Nelson is a lot better in regards to his work regarding 7 to 9 and that's not called a weakness. That's telling the truth. And also, too, they maliciously attack Chandler in a lot of areas in this podcast, and as well as Wayne Costi and Ken Jenkins, even John Wyndham and Fran Schuer. I mean, they didn't leave anyone untouched by their venom. But I want to say right off the bat, David, we disagree. I mean, I don't disagree much with David Chandler because I can't. But I know Nelson and David have a disagreement slightly regarding World Trade Center 7. So we're not in this camp together. Yes, we share some common interests about 9/11, but obviously the disparity is he's about the physics. We're basically about the geopolitics. And no, I don't even know much about David Chandler. I'm not friends with him. Like, I'm not personal friends with him. I know him. He's a nice guy. And I refer to him when it comes to physics. And I know Andy Steele somewhere in here gets mad because I don't mention Richard Gage? Well, because I don't know Richard Gage. And judging by his character and his judgment and having Craig McKee as his writer, I think I have every right to sit here and tell you that I really don't trust much of anything he says. But I do trust David Chandler. I do trust Wayne Costi. I do trust Ken Jenkins because their work is sound regarding the Pentagon. And I would say that their work is pretty sound regarding the World Trade Center.
They're honest people. They're honest people. Look, they admit they make mistakes. None of these people that are against us has ever admitted to any mistakes. We're admitting to mistakes. We believed in some of this stuff.
Right.
How can these people go so many years and not have any mistakes? There's something wrong there.
Yeah. Nobody can say we suffer from confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Nobody can say that.
Yeah.
Because I believed at one point, Miss What's Been On.
Sure.
I believed that.
So
and in light of new evidence, I was able to change my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, imagine that.
Yeah. What a concept.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna keep going.
It's kind of laughable to see this attempt to recreate my persona, and then I kept wondering, where are these pictures? I don't even know where they got these pictures from. And like we were saying in our initial conversation, my initial guess was not knowing. I said this has to be the very person that whoever's doing this is mentioning in the conversation.
That's right. And just to establish with our audience, we've got a profile out on Facebook. Bernie was not even on Facebook. That's one of the things he told me. He doesn't even have a Facebook profile. And here's this guy out there saying things that Bernie doesn't say, doesn't believe in. Maybe even go over some of those quotes and things he's putting out there, promoting some other guy's work that, Bernie doesn't endorse. Pretending to be Bernie. And we will get into that. But basically, Bernie did not have a Facebook profile. Somebody is pretending to be Bernie. So from henceforth, we always refer to this person as fake Bernie.
Andy, you and I talked about, interestingly, when you look at the conversation, even Bernie is ripping on Bernie. It's like, and this Bernie seems to think highly of these other characters, that are mentioned, not just Nelson, but this, what is this, Ed Brotherton? So Bernie seems to be...
Stop right there. Stop right there.
Please.
Yeah. The way he said that, it was like he didn't even know me.
Yeah.
This Ed Brotherton.
Yeah. When he goes in later, it's a desperate attempt to change his recent history, his very recent history.
Yeah, the way he said that right there was like, we share the same birthday. I've had dinner with lunch.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I had dinner with them at Denny's or lunch with them at Denny's on our birthdays. And I know Bernie very well. He knows me very well.
Yeah.
And for him to say it like that was just absolutely funny when I heard it.
You guys ride motorcycles together. You guys have done that, right? Yeah.
We never rode together, no. But yeah, it's like, but for him to say this Ed Brotherton, like he doesn't know me. It's pretty funny.
Now, I was just going to ask the both of you, how well did you know Bernie Suarez?
I know Bernie better than anybody in this room. I know Bernie very well.
But did you meet Bernie? Did you know him?
Me?
No, Nelson.
Or Nelson?
Oh, me. I met him like through the street actions that and particularly like on Saturdays when they used to be able to be at we used to be able to have a table at the 2nd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. But when I talked to him, he was like one of those typical Alex Jones clones. So it's like he barely knew anything about really any Israeli involvement and stuff. So
All right, well, let's keep going.
Of these other guys more than himself somehow.
Right, we're going to actually read that conversation. We're going to do a little play acting here because it might get a little boring if I'm just reading myself. I don't want to do different voices to differentiate us. So I think we're going to do that right now. And what we did, because we wanted to just know who this is at first, we concocted a plan. And the plan was just to reach out. So I sent fake Bernie a friend request and I wrote to him, ended up dialoguing in Facebook Messenger in real time one night. And What's funny is that while
He's
I was
lying.
talking to this fake Bernie,
He's lying, Nelson. Why?
Because he's trying to say that, like, you know, he approached, like, just the opening conversation. He's just, you know, he's saying that he discovered and he thought it was a troll profile. No, he's not. He would have notified Bernie long before, because he'd been friended on me, and he just kept going with the conversation. And besides, the thing that he posted up with the conversation on the FreeFall site, he doesn't show the whole dialogue. He kept believing that it was me, you know, and even though I was doing everything possible, you know, to make it obvious that it's not me, the name's not spelled right, you know, I'm saying some really goofy shit right in the beginning, and this guy's just sucking it up. And this is what and that's what part of this whole thing is to remove the embarrassment, because he's embarrassed to find out that, you know, yeah, he was talking to me, to a fake profile. And, you know, that's part of the reason why I reached out to him about the comic book in the beginning. So
I guess it would be a good question now to ask you. What made you do the profile to begin with?
Well, I explained it already, and I know he covers that at the end because we had more correspondence. Reason is that, well, I've been blocked from the main 9/11 Truth group on Facebook. She's got 40,000 followers, and yes, I've got into with some of the moderators. Me and Dawson did, in fact. If you with Ken Dock, I was criticizing him. And it was over the Pentagon attack. It's just like, dude, all you guys are moderators, all you guys agree with Chandler and all this stuff, but you guys won't set no fucking rules to this goddamn group you guys are moderating. Like, please. So with my film 6 on 77, it's again like Dawson. They don't watch his films. They don't watch my films. But with 6 on 77, I proved Ken Dock wrong. I answered one of his questions is like, well, how come none of the security videos capture any passengers, going through? And I proved them wrong. I'm like, there is. You can see Maria Ray Soper right next to Khalid El Madar when he's getting screened. So I answered the specific question. So it's like, okay, it's answered. Take it off your damn site, dude. It's like, clean up your act. He didn't want to. So it's like,
not only that, but that same video provides the timestamp everybody bitches about.
Yes, proves authenticity. Yes, 2 angles. So he didn't want to fix it. I'm like, well, you're not a real truth seeker. You're not for the fucking truth. You are despicable and dishonorable to the victims' families. And that's what I care most about.
All right.
Real Bernie was live streaming his show on YouTube at the time. And I had that on in the background. So for me, I knew this wasn't Bernie at all. Let's go ahead and read that conversation. And since this guy is pretending to be you, Bernie, why don't you go ahead and read fake Bernie's part? This is going to be on page 3 of the...
it's a good dinner theater.
Yes.
Start off here. Hey, this is what I wrote to fake Bernie. Hey, Bernie, long time no see. This is Andy Steele. You started the FreeFall show with me 8 years ago. Good to see that you're still active. How have you been?
Okay, here we go. So I'm fake Bernie, and it's good to hear from you. I'm doing terrible. I have no friends and no more We Are Change LA chapter. I don't want to read this verbatim because
of course you don't.
Slash thermal detonator.
By the way, Nelson, is there a reason why he doesn't?
Because there's too many truths I'm actually pointing out about him. He ignores everything. He ignores, and he'll just keep going on, just like he's trying to pretend like he doesn't know Ed.
Ruined it all. Now I just follow Q and have my YouTube channel. And you?
I'm okay, still at it. What do you mean? They abolished We Are Change?
And then he says, no, Nelson convinced Ed Brotherton, the former head of WACLA, I guess that's We Are Change LA, that Sandy...
Yeah,
whoa, that's just that. He doesn't know what WACLA is. We always called it WACLA. WACLA. And he's pretending like he doesn't know. What a fucking liar! And that's the other thing too. He's trying to say like he's trying to avoid his whole Q thing.
He's trying to avoid. He's trying to erase his past.
Yeah,
Because it
You're
was
not.
shameful.
You're not.
And it
It's
was
not going to
shameful.
work, Bernie. You're not. You're
And
not.
his present and future is going to be just as shameful.
Yeah. It's just like
It's
what
like-
even Mark Dice is doing recent. Mark Dice does the same thing now. He's gotten rid of all his 9/11 truth stuff. So now he's some conservative, right-wing fucking, pundit, street guru, whatever, and that's the same thing to do. No, you're not going to do that. We got screenshots of your websites, all the stuff that you did. I've got some of your videos. That you've insulted me in the past and Ed, and completely contrary to everything you say, you are a liar. That's it.
Yeah,
No.
but what is that? I guess it's Wackla. I was like, are you? The website was the website was wacla.org.
I guess that Sandy Hook was real. And that we needed to focus on 9/11 again and revisit or change positions with Flight 77 and Pentagon.
Wow. Well, I lost my place. Okay. What is your position on the Pentagon? I don't think we ever talked about that, even though we had.
Oh, sure. Well, even though all of what he is saying so far is a lie. And then Fake Bernie says, a missile hit it. Just like with loose change, not based on anything else, right? But then he says, but even when Ed and Nelson wanted to pursue other points about Israelis, I flat out yelled at them and said, quote, I'm quoting myself. Okay, but let's take it serious, right? I flat out yelled at them and said, quote, who cares, 9/11 was 14 years ago. This was in 2015. But yeah, me and 3 other guys in the group were just still focused on their Sandy Hook again.
Okay,
Stop.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true that he stood
100%.
up and yelled, who
100%.
cares about 9/11? It was 14 years ago.
Mhm.
He did this, and here's the funny thing about it. There was only 6 or 7 of us in the room. So,
No, there was actually more than that. Because you had Dr. Bob was in there. You had the 2 guys came in from Apple Valley. You had what's
Bob
his name?
Shuddy, Bob
Shuddy was
Sherman,
there.
Bob Sherman,
yeah.
and the bald
And-
guy. Was it Robin or something?
Yeah, him, and then you were sitting to my left, and
Yeah.
I was sitting to your right, and then and he actually literally stood up, and made that statement.
Yeah, and it was,
and this is when my jaw dropped.
yeah,
And
not just
I realized I'm dealing with a bunch of nut jobs.
absolutely. Well, here's the thing. It wasn't just me and you that freaked out. All the people that defended Bernie with all the Sandy Hook and Boston bombing, they freaked out. And they yelled at him like, dude, what the hell are you saying, Bernie? Like, it's just like you're standing in the middle of a 9/11 truth group, standing up and saying, who cares about 9/11? This is the only reason why we have this group. This is why we're here. And you did that, and it wasn't an actual response. I actually changed the what I said there. It wasn't over Israel. It was actually when he snapped like that. It was when I was, bringing back talking about 1993, and that none of them knew who Ramzi Youssef was. That it was the nephew of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And I'm like, how can you people not know fucking basic history like that? How can you not know that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he freaked out and says, who cares about 9/11? I was just like, wow. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, that's when it clicked into Ed. Like, dude, we've been dealing with people who are fucking nuts.
All right.
So she's saying it up like, but anyway, where was I? Okay. Me and 3 other guys in the group were just still focused on Sandy Hook and the Boston bombing. All right, we can upgrade the Boston bombing to the Boston bombing hoax at the time.
Wow, that sounds crazy. I don't know who Nelson is. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my place. So that's what I said. Wow, that sounds crazy. I don't know who Nelson is. And then I wrote, I heard you had a show on YouTube. If you have a link for the channel, I'll watch it when I get time. Send it to me here.
And then the fake Bernie says, as I said, I mostly cover QAnon and the deep state these days. Oh, not Christian Patriot News? Oh, I guess not.
Oh, that's your new stuff, Bernie. That's your new, no. You were all QAnon. No, that's the reason why you don't have a channel. They kicked you off because you were covering that garbage. You're not because you just this new Christian Patriot thing. That's the new you, dude. That's not the no. Whole utter bullshit. Keep going.
And then the fake Bernie links a link to my YouTube channel, which of course Susie Wojcicki took down. But anyway, okay. And then fake Bernie continues. Oh, wait a minute. That's a repeat, right? Let's see here.
Oh yeah, that's a repeat.
Okay, and then oh, here it is. Fake Bernie says, because I love thermal detonators so much. Nelson / thermal detonator is this guy. And then since I have nothing else to do, I apparently went out of my way to find a picture of Nelson Martin, and I'm posting and promoting Nelson Martin's Facebook account.
Well, yeah. Here's what he wrote. Here's what he did. He said Nelson / thermal detonator is this guy, and then he provides a link to this guy Nelson Martin, who I'd never even heard of. Looks like some kind of rap wannabe or something. He's got an Al Capone hat and a
Stop.
Oh my God.
My fedora hat or whatever. Yeah. Oh, wow, dude. Yeah, like you mean like Run DMC, right? I'm like, dude, you can like read my profile. It says, Gothic industrial DJ, and I'm not a performing DJ. I don't rap. I'm a former club promoter, concert promoter. Even managed a band too. No, doesn't like this guy's like not in touch with reality.
Not
Keep going.
musically literate.
Yeah. I would say
black
that.
suit.
So whoever this person is really eager to promote Nelson / thermal detonator. Is that what you're trying to say, Andy?
That is exactly, yeah. He's sending me he's complaining about him, but he's sending me the profile.
Exactly.
So, now I know this is probably because the type of people that do this kind of thing like to leave calling cards, and he thinks he's messing with me. I'm letting him think that for my own amusement at this
But
point.
wasn't that I'm sorry to butt in, but wasn't that the point of it all? To make it obvious?
Yes.
And
Yes.
And here's Eddie Steele saying, "Oh, I let him make believe that I didn't know."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Wait. Since I know this is probably the guy who stole Bernie's identity, I'm gonna poke him a little bit, and I just write Run DMC,
Again, I
a little
have
laughing face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't steal his identity because you spelled his name wrong.
Yeah.
And he didn't have an identity to steal anyway.
Yeah, and they won't even talk about what the picture is. I'm like, well, it's Bernie Suarez right next to Christopher Bolin. That's what the pic is. That's what the profile pic is. And it's a photo I took. It's my photo that I took of him. And it was when Bolin came. Yes. It's when Bolin first came and did his speaking engagement in 2014. So they don't even want to bring up that name. They're not, they're avoiding that.
Was that like a pizza place or something like that?
Yeah, it was at a pizza place. It was really loud. Remember we recorded it?
I remember that.
Yeah. What a mistake. I mean,
I did some typos here, but if you guys don't get along, why are you friends with them? Sorry, that fast. I wanted to correct. I meant if you don't get along with a guy, why are you friends on Facebook?
Right. And then the fake Bernie says, no, not even close to rap. I added him on here at first using a different name just to keep a watch on him. All right. And then it says here, to see if he ever says anything about me. But I make all my posts unavailable to him. So the fake Bernie is obsessed with Nelson and even spying on him somehow. Because Nelson must be a really important guy.
So that's, so basically I just want to establish here what's going on is that this guy, somebody out there, this is what we know at this point in the whole narrative, is that somebody out there is pretending, not only has created a fake Bernie profile, so they can't even.
Oh, wait, stop right there.
Satire, but he's pretending to be Bernie.
Yeah.
Okay. remember they're saying we don't know who this is. It's just some guy. Yeah, he got his picture up on the flyer.
Ah.
So, I mean, again, they're lying again.
Yeah.
Why are they saying they don't know who it is when they put the picture of the person on the flyer?
Yeah. Not even your regular Facebook profile. Completely different picture of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, it's like they're lying right in front of you.
Yeah, it's
They're not even being honest in front of you.
They're not good liars.
No. All right, that's all. Okay.
He's pretending to be him. So somebody that knew Bernie from a long ago, I mean, you know, he has no idea that we stay in contact. It could have just been 8 years ago, and then when Bernie couldn't do FreeFall anymore, we stopped talking. But I connect with him again, and he's pretending to be Bernie, misrepresenting himself as Bernie.
Stop real quick. Stop real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the thing is that there was no suspicion, from Steele in the beginning. It's just like, dude, don't you think it would be weird now for Bernie to just appear on Facebook and having not appeared like already 10 years back? Why wouldn't he have already been on Facebook, especially now when Facebook is dying? Like, why would people be joining? It's just dwindling in numbers. So it's, oh my God, I don't know. It's just like, just keep going.
There's 30 more minutes of him complaining about Bernie.
It's not just about a stupid Facebook profile.
I'm sorry.
There's something much deeper going on here. That's where we're going to get to. But I want everybody to follow this process of discovery. So we talked, and I'm not going to go through all of the conversations and everything. But there's a key part here in our conversations with me and fake Bernie that's going to come in important in the end. And I had written to him this. And me and Bernie had cooked this up just to sort of mess with him. Bernie's got a medical background, as I said in the intro. And I want to see what he'd say to that. So I wrote to him, hey, remember a few years ago when I was talking about that problem with my knee? I did what you told me and it worked good, but it doesn't seem to work as well anymore. Should I keep doing it or will that make it worse? Now, I don't have a problem with my knee. I never talked to Bernie about any kind of real medical stuff. I'm just making this up to see what the guy says and how he responds. What did he say, Bernie?
He says, I forgot about your knee. What was wrong with it?
So in the meantime, we're having this whole conversation about Trump, and this guy's obsessed with Alex Jones and keeps bringing him up, and apparently doesn't like Trump. So I'm saying some things to piss him off.
Yeah, wrong. But
Nelson, I do want to talk about why do you keep bringing up Alex Jones?
Because that's exactly who that's what Bernie basically is, just a lending of. Yeah, it's a parody of, and trying to say that he's not, but he is. I mean, sorry, I cut out. I lost connection earlier, but
they do make a big deal out of that. They're saying, well, well, you know what? I'll let it play because he does say that.
Well, look, I mean, they say that I'm obsessed. I mean, you just heard Dawson, earlier saying the same thing. This is the guy that's the main problem, anyways, with all this disinformation, all this bullshit with the way the truth movement is. So it's like, for these people to say, well, I'm obsessed. Well, you know what? So is Adam Green. So are a lot of people. Most of the truth movement has disavowed Alex Jones. I don't find hardly anyone who's posting his stuff that I see from the old days or even now in the truth movement. Nobody.
I think, you know what? I actually do think that Jason Burmis does now recently.
Yeah, he does. Because he needs that promo. He needs that plug. So is Luke Radowski too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, I forgot about Luke Radowski. Yeah, geez, there you go.
Another turd.
Yeah,
By the way,
hey,
Adam,
go ahead.
Sorry, your microphone might be a little too far away, just so you know.
Me?
Your microphone, yeah, might be a little too far away.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's
Keep
much
yourself.
better. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone who's ever known me knows I've never followed Jones. I like some of the work he put
Whoa.
No.
Stop.
No.
And I just posted that up, and I have it on the fake profile
Like
too.
I know Bernie. I will tell you he has followed Alex Jones.
Dude, I have got the whole thing of him trying to talk about like his own Israeli knowledge of stuff. And what does he sample? He samples the whole section of the USS Liberty from Terror Storm, an Alex Jones film. The guy sells, Bernie, even on his show, even as a Trump supporter, sells survival goods. I don't know why. I mean, you got the president you want. I mean, the people who sell survival goods are, they're worried about that shit's going to hit the fan, that they're not going to ever have any political opinion or presidential choice of their own. But hey, but that's okay. You got your favorite president in there, but let's still sell survival goods because shit can hit the fan and the government may turn on you. Just come on.
Let me ask the both of you. Why do you think Bernie tried to disassociate himself from Alex Jones?
Because he knows it's a bad idea to associate himself with it nowadays.
Because he became a Christian patriot, a Trumplican, And here's the thing: it's like I don't dislike Trump. I don't the way he's saying. Yeah, I may have said that in there, but yeah, I am pointing out Jones on all that. I hate Jones.
And Jones got sued. I mean, he got sued, and it's like for the Sandy Hookery, and he was promoting the Sandy Hook stuff, and it's like now it's like it's not popular.
Yeah, it's not working.
They're jumping ship, in other words, from Alex.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Again, he's trying to redo his past.
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember even when he was starting to get suspicion. At one point, he said, like, I noticed that, he won't get into Israel and Zionism. I'm like, oh, you barely noticed now. This is like 5 years ago. He was,
Right, and I'm saying these things of supportive of Trump to piss him off. So I just kind of follow up with, it was that pain circulating all around my knee, something swelling. You had the name for it back then. What was it? It was something that ended with, quote, ... aus. And I don't think he ever responded to any of that because now he is trapped. So anyway, this
you
goes
got him
on, and
oh boy,
right off the bat,
the caper
talking about Sultan Nelson.
The plum needs caper solved.
And I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these meddling kids.
I know.
Pathetic. So making it so obvious.
It's Nelson Martin.
Yeah, making it so obvious that it's me, and it's just like, yeah.
I mean, you gave them every hint at this point, right?
Yes, that they're dealing with the troll profile. That's a fake profile.
Exactly.
Yes.
And here is Andy Steele basically saying that I allowed him to think that I was playing along.
Right. And how long did it take? And it took for a year, and you didn't bother to let Bernie know? Hey, man, there's some dude fucking running a fake profile of you, man. If he said if he knew it was in the beginning, never. I mean, you could get you can get it removed.
Right.
I mean, these clowns have names like supervillains in comic books, but DJ Thermal Detonator, you're going to learn here that he's a very vain person. He can't help but leave a calling card when he's pretending to be somebody else. There's actually a profile on SoundCloud called The Eternal Hutchins, and he trolls me every week.
Okay, I have to interject here. The Eternal Hutchins is actually the Eternal Hitchens. If you care to see. And I have a picture up there of the late Christopher Hitchens. It's my channel, Adam Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
I made that SoundCloud basically because I listen to techno, I still do, and I've been on SoundCloud for years and years. I have playlists up there and stuff. And I used to be a fan of Christopher Hitchens, no more because he became a neocon, and that really sent me on a spiral because I was a big fan of Christopher Hitchens. Before I even had Adam Fitzgerald on YouTube, I had a YouTube dedicated to him. I had the largest amount of Christopher Hitchens videos in the world at one time. But my worldview was challenged. I'm still an atheist, but I'm not an atheist. Anyway, that's me, Andy Steele. Christopher Hitchens. Yes, I do leave comments on the videos asking you, why in the hell are you interviewing the likes of Adam Syed and Sheila Casey? Because they don't even talk about 9/11. I don't know why. Well, anyway, yeah, I'll just keep. I just wanted to say that.
Asinine comments, and we suspect this is Nelson too because it.
I noticed another thing too. They blame you for every character on Facebook, even on SoundCloud, on YouTube. You're like the main nemesis here.
Especially McKee gets it way wrong ahead. He gets it even more wrong.
Unbelievable. Go ahead.
They liked some channel called DJ Thermal Detonator and says all the same kind of moronic stuff that you're going to hear Nelson saying in these messages tonight. So we think that person is also Nelson, and we suspect that he's got multiple profiles out there, and Bernie is just one of them. But I figured, I showed these screen prints to Bernie, and we figured this is who it must be. Bernie, you tangoed with Nelson and his partners back in your We Are Change LA days, and you managed to get everybody to go over to your group instead of theirs because of some shenanigans that were going on. Want to briefly tell us about that?
Sure, Andy. So this was, I believe, around 2015-ish, right? I was the assistant organizer in this, this organization that really turned out to be nothing but, in my opinion, controlled opposition, globalist organization, a bunch of empty rooms.
Globalist organization, and you're not an Alex Jones follower.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep
Globalist. Oh, sorry.
Curious minds and inquiring minds to take a look at the world as it was happening above and beyond 9/11. So these characters with his partner, this Ed Brotherton, is part of this shenanigan. The real issue was
right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. See, you see how what I'm saying when he says my name?
Right.
This Ed Brotherton, it's like we've never actually crossed paths or something.
Yeah.
And it's a very psychotic sort of, it's sort of a psychotic sort of thing he's got going on there. Some psychosis. Like he doesn't want to confront the fact that he knew me. Again, disassociate himself with his past,
Sure.
and he's shameful. Everything he's talking about is all about distancing himself from the past and making it sound like he's never had any association with it, any of that. Or if he did, it was in the perspective of being the superhero coming in to save the day, and so that's how he views it. And the fact that, he calls it a globalist organization. Come on, dude. We're every freaking, or he knows darn the fact. Then he goes off and starts his own chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't make exactly
how stupid can you be?
How can you be? Yeah, he starts
Stupid can you be?
Yeah, a We Are Change LA 2.
Yeah. But then he calls the original We Are Change LA. The official, the official We Are Change LA.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get
into Roberto really quick. Yeah, keep going now.
Go for it.
Ed Brotherton, along with Nelson, basically, Ed calling me directly, commanding me as to what the group would talk about, basically controlling the narrative, saying we're going to talk about
stop right
this.
there.
Yeah, sure.
Stop right there. All right. First of all, this was right about the time that Nelson and I were sharing information, and he was showing me things, I was showing me things, and that's when we were researching all the information that was already out there and trying to find out what was true and what wasn't, and trying to validate a lot of the stuff because nobody was doing it. And this is when then after a while you compile enough data. It's like, okay, let's take this data to the group and talk about it. What's wrong with that? It's all about seeking truth, right? We're truth movement, right? So I decided to call him up, which I never do, by the way, with respect to this stuff. But because it was such a shift in sort of, because we've been talking about all this nonsense for so long, and we've been on this loop for so long, I called him up out of a courtesy, And by the way, he said he was the assistant organizer. I don't recall him ever being officially an assistant organizer. I could be wrong on that.
No, he was on the meetup. He was on the meetup, but he never did anything like that physically. Yeah.
But I don't remember him being listed as officially assistant organizer or anything like that. I could be wrong, but it didn't matter. Regardless, I called him up on the phone and I said, look, I'm coming across some new information with regards to Israeli involvement, coming across some new information about the Flight 77, and I think it's important that we talk about it. And he said he didn't think it was a good idea because, and the reason why I called him, because I wanted to see, I knew he would be a good gauge on what the group would think because of the because of the nature of the group, right? So if he was going to say what he did say, he didn't think it was a good idea because he thought it would be divisive. Those issues would be divisive, and it would cause a rift. And I'm like, yeah, but it's got to be discussed. I mean, it's like, and I didn't demand anything of him. First of all, I'm the organizer of We Are Change. I don't need to demand shit from anybody. If I want to come and talk about something, I can go talk about it. I don't need his permission. So this idea that I'm demanding that we do this, that, and the other is absolutely preposterous because I don't need his permission.
No.
He's the assistant organizer by his own admission, and I'm the organizer by his own admission. So since when does the organizer need permission from the assistant organizer? When does the subordinate, supersede the one leading the group? It makes no sense. So that's absolutely absurd. I didn't demand anything from anybody. I simply asked his opinion. He gave me his opinion. I hung up, and I was going to pursue what I wanted to pursue anyway. As far as, again, go ahead. You'll hear more.
And this and nothing else, and this is the way it is.
That's not true. I didn't say it like that.
Declarative statements. So what
I don't. You guys know me. I don't talk like that.
No, you don't. No,
I don't talk like that.
No.
is put the argument to the group on, at the time was, what is it, meetup.com, I think it was. So there was a lot of people on that email list because people years before that did come to We Are Change meetings. But by 2015, everybody dispersed. Nobody showed up to these meetings except a small group of gentlemen. So anyway, I put the argument.
Including himself. Did he just say a small group of dumb ones? Is that what you just said?
You want me to play that a little bit?
Yeah, replay that.
Yeah, hold on.
Say, look, this is what they are saying, and this is what I'm saying. And really, all it took was one email. Everybody got it. And we had these, at the time, we used to have meetings once a month. So when we had our next meeting, I told everyone that.
Go back a little bit.
You can't try to pull the
You want
information.
me to go
That's
back a
not
little
how
bit?
truth works.
Okay, go back a little more.
In my opinion, controlled opposition, globalist organization, a bunch of empty rooms throughout the whole country. But we did manage to get curious minds and inquiring minds.
Okay, go back, because there's something we missed very important.
As it was
Even
happening.
before that?
Yeah, go back before that.
So
I'm sorry, what was that, Ed?
You could go back to where he was talking about me on the phone with him.
That was like right after that. I think
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
right.
right after that.
Yeah. Keep going. Now,
Right.
let it play there then. Let it play.
characters with his partner is Ed Brotherton is part of this shenanigan. The real issue was, Ed Brotherton, along with Nelson, basically, Ed calling me directly, commanding me as to what the group would talk about, basically controlling the narrative, saying we're going to talk about this and nothing else, and this is the way it is. Like making these declarative statements. So what I did in a nutshell is put the argument to the group on, at the time was, what is it, meetup.com, I think it was. So there was a lot of people on that email list because people years before that did come to We Are Change meetings. But by 2015, everybody dispersed. Nobody showed up to these meetings except a small group of gentlemen. So anyway, I put the argument to the group, say, look, this is what they are saying, and this is what I'm saying. And
Stop right there. Okay, first of all, here's a big problem with his statement here. All right. Number one, he doesn't know what my argument is. I never got to present it. He doesn't know what the evidence is. I never got to present it.
Yeah.
And if he was genuine, he would have said, hey, Ed, why don't you send an email to the group, ask them, present some of the points that are of interest, and then see what kind of feedback you get and see if they want to discuss it further. That would have been the honest thing to do. That would have been the problem, because I'm the one with the information. He doesn't have it. So how can he present my argument in an email? He can't. He can't present my argument in an email because he doesn't know what it is. I never gave it to him. So here he is saying, he said, oh, here's what they're saying. I'm like, no, you don't know what I'm saying because I never gave it to you. Second of all, that email, if I remember right, I'm trying to remember the timeline because it was so long ago, but the fact that he put out email himself and did not ask me to do it, since I'm the one with the information, shows he's the one who's actually trying to control the narrative. He's the one doing the same thing he's accusing me of doing. He's the one dictating what we're going to talk about by pushing me out, by saying, no, we're not going to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. I'm going to go to the group. I'm going to control the narrative. I'm going to control the dialogue. I'm going to present what Ed's argument is, even though I don't know what it is. And then I'm going to phrase it in such a way where the group doesn't know any better. And therefore I'm going to get all the agreement and I'm going to look like a freaking hero because I'm calling some guy out. That's what's going on there.
That's exactly what is going on.
Really, all it took was one email. Everybody got it. And we had at the time, we used to have meetings once a month. So when we had our next meeting, I told everyone that, you can't try to control the information. That's not how truth works. That's not how inquiry.
Stop right there.
That's not how research.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not supposed to control the information, then why are you trying to control the information? Why would you let me speak about it? I mean, come on, man. This is like so stupid. It's like I don't even know. It's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
The complete disingenuousness, the complete absolute arrogance of this guy.
Well,
he's so arrogant he doesn't even realize that he's the one controlling the conversation. He says, I can't talk about that. He's the one who sends the email. He's the one speaking at the group telling everybody, I can't dictate what we talk about. He's the one saying I can't control the information. And he's the one not allowing the information to be spoken of.
Yeah. He's saying that's not the way that, dispersing of truth works. Well, we're not interested in dispersing truth. We're interested in dispersing facts.
How does it work there, Bernie? How does it work? Please tell me how it works. Will you please shut the fuck up so I can now speak? So I can now share the information?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, sit down so I can now share the information. Or are you going to control the narrative? Or are you going to control my speech now? This guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. It's wow. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And free thought. That's not how it works. You guys didn't get to the point where you are with your organization by allowing people to restrict thoughts. Do you restrict people from researching the destruction of the building? You can't.
Stop right there. Stop right there. All right. What's his name got kicked out of A&E for liking a video?
Chris Sarnes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He got kicked out of A&E for liking a video. So yes, they do it.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that, I did a response video to the podcast we're listening to on my own, in the light of also doing this particular response with Ed and Nelson to respond to their own. And when I posted the video, Chris Sarnes liked the video, and I was told by David Chandler that Architects and Engineers got rid of Chris Sarnes. So what does that tell you about restricting free speech, about restricting a person's right to
point of view? Right. It's just they're so hypocritical.
It's very hypocritical.
It's almost beyond it's I've never seen hypocrisy this bad before. I don't think.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, don't worry. We get into.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he's got more burning.
And they're talking about me, and they were the easiest on me, and I felt like I need to set my game up. It's just like I was like, man, they didn't say hardly shit about me, but a little bit they did say.
Why they didn't with you, Ed, is because you're not as active as myself and Nelson on the Facebook forums, and that's the reason why they went after us. But they never went after our work or what we produce.
Right.
No.
Right.
Exactly. The reason why for that.
Yeah. The event of 9/11 was not even talked about.
Right.
No,
wasn't even
right.
The Joseph Goebbels type thing to do. So just fundamentally speaking, people saw it.
More Jones talking points. Keep going.
Boy, Joseph Goebbels.
Well, what's funny is he's saying that about himself because he's the one doing it.
Right. I mean,
came into the next meeting, I stepped outside. I didn't even go in the room. I just said, look, anybody who wants to join me in the new change, don't go in the room and stay with me. And what happened? Everyone joined me outside the room.
Stop. That didn't happen either. There was some of his people did join him outside on the sidewalk because we had the room. So he decides to, I don't know what he was thinking, play this game where he was going to stand outside the room, and as people go into my meeting, he was going to try and recruit from those people going in, just so he can have people joining him on the sidewalk and have a meeting there, including one of my good friends, who I won't mention his name, who they tried to recruit, who had speaking that day in front of the group. So obviously not everyone joined him, because I had a group that I had a speaker engaged in, and they were trying to recruit him, and he comes in and tells me what was going on. I just kind of laughed about it, and it was really pathetic to watch, actually. Observing the whole thing.
Well, the thing. Well, let's talk about the accuracy and number here. He's talking about these people he took away from the group. It was 2 other people, Bob Shuddy and Robin.
Yeah. Don't forget the other 2 guys from Antelope Valley.
No, but they weren't going to his meet. They weren't going to the meetings. I mean, not even Bob Sherman became interested. He didn't want to be involved in any of either side. So that's all they had. That was all who was showing up, was just 3 people.
Yeah, he eventually went over to the Unurban Cafe.
Yeah,
and was having meetings there, but he would filibuster the whole damn meeting. I know somebody who went to the meeting and was just like rolling their eyes almost the whole time, because she's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like, just same old stuff, same stuff Chuck Noyes used to do.
Yeah, which was what? The monthly rundown of everything that was on Alex Jones the past month.
Right.
That's all Chuck Noyes was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And the only 2 people in the room were the same 2 guys that we're talking about in this conversation. So everyone in this group abandoned them. I took the group to a new location. I notified the organizer of the national We Are Change. I told them what was going on.
The globalist group.
Pause right there. The
globalist group.
Pause right there. Yeah. So if it's a big globalist cabal, like Nelson was just insinuating, why would he contact the We Are Change chapter in New York and get permission to start another chapter of a globalist organization? And then why? It's like this. And then why? And also, when he contacted the We Are Change, he told them what was going on. Did anybody call me from We Are Change to ask me what my side of the story? No. Did they care? No. I sent an email to Scott. I'm like, what are you doing, Scott? Now you got 2 We Are Change groups and everybody's confused. They're like, why wouldn't you call me and ask me what my side of the story is? Why do you just take somebody's word for it and go, oh, okay, I guess that's what's happening. Here you go. So I have no idea what Bernie told him.
Yeah.
And then he could have told him I was high on meth and I was out there, doing all kinds of shit, or I was in jail. He could have said whatever he wanted to. I have no idea what the hell he said to him. So again, it shows he's not genuine. He's not honest. He goes behind people's backs. He's conniving, and he doesn't pursue truth.
No,
he doesn't pursue truth. If he was honest, he would have said, he would have kept it equitable. He would have said, hey, he would have, if Scott too, he would have, We Are Change. He said, you know what, I'm going to call Ed and find out, get the story from him, and then we'll have a meeting, we'll discuss it and decide. That's what should have happened.
Yeah.
But it didn't. He just gave him it was like just some laziness going on. We Are Change New York, and just go, okay, I guess so. And here's your stamp for approval. And then Bernie runs off and says, I have the official We Are Change Los Angeles now. And it's like as if mine still isn't the official one. It's just insane. It's just absolute petty, pathetic pettiness.
Oh, big
And
beyond.
it's just absolutely. And then he goes on his podcast and starts talking smack about me and Nelson about what he did and how he basically blew a cover
Yeah,
off.
we were
big
infiltrators,
operation.
COINTELPRO. What was it?
Yeah.
What was the thing they were always saying? Jade help, James help. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know. We didn't even know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it was. Not even, you know. But here's the thing. Like we're talking about, like he won't necessarily get into what happens next because, you know, he merges his new We Are Change LA chapter. Basically, he holds it somewhere. There's only 3 of them showing up. And then eventually it merges with LA 9/11 Truth with Chuck No Yes. But then once Trump wins in the office, you ready for this? It's no longer becomes We Are Change LA. It becomes We Are Q.
Q.
It be literally on the goddamn website when you went to it was We Are Q, and that's what he changed it to.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was.
Did he get permission from We Are Change to do that?
No, I know he that's what he changed it to, and you know it just goes to show like how lame and gullible Bernie always was. I mean, look what Q is: some faceless web forum posts on 8chan or 4chan, whatever it is, you know. But I remember specifically when we had our We Are Change LA meetings when he towards the end, you know, Bernie was coming up with all these like anonymous like YouTube postings of stuff going on like drills and exercises. I mean, total Alex Jones crap. I mean, you know, oh, we got to watch out. They're going to pull off flag with one of these fucking drills and all this stuff. And that's what he would refer to. So, oh my God, have you noticed how YouTube is? I'm like you could find some of the most amazing stuff. And he would show a YouTube video that was just silent. And it was words, you know, text, no actual document, no actual source of anything, but that there was this, you know, warning that there's going to be these future drills going on, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, this is how you research? This is where you find new information? Dude, you're a fool. That's how he's able to get sucked into Q.
And then not just that, but he also, and I'll tell you how he got kicked. I'll tell you what happened when I left We Are Change LA, the group I was running, is because I kicked him out.
And Bob Shunny.
To the entire group. He sent an email to the entire group, and he said it's both-faced lie about Nelson. I called him out on it. I said, Mr. Bernie, you need to correct your statement because it's not true. And I gave him 3 opportunities to do it. And I said, Bernie, if you don't remove it or correct the statement, I'm going to have to remove you from the group. And I did. I kicked him out of Meetup. I kicked him out of We Are Change, and he was no longer part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the group before he ever did that. I did a lot for We Are Change LA.
You were in the group long before he ever showed up from New York.
Yeah, I did a lot for the group. I made, you know, I was making shirts. I bought the posters for the anti-war rallies. I created a MySpace profile for it. I was out there. I mean, I was one of the people that helped build the numbers for the meetup. Because I was active on social media. I wasn't paranoid like him, like the CIA. Oh, it's just going to be the CIA's tracking on you. Gah, 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 you know, his annoying voice.
But I kicked Bernie out is what happened.
Yeah.
So
now maybe it was happening at the same time he was leaving, but he was no longer, he was officially out.
So it's almost at this point, poor Bernie, just about everything you said. That's so far for you. And so the next, I think what's going to come up now, according to the timestamp, for the next, I know a lot of people are saying, well, are they going to talk about 9/11 at all? The next.
We will when it comes around McKee. Yeah.
Yeah. In the next 20, 30 minutes, I'm looking at the timestamps, is when they start accusing all 3 of us of defending the official narrative.
Yeah, so, we'll get into that. Yeah, exactly. That's when we'll get into it. Sure.
Yeah.
The website for the new version of We Are Change. And guess what, Andy? We have a bunch of other people from this other part of Los Angeles, that being Santa Monica and other towns. They heard about this. And guess what? For the next 2 years, from 2015 to 2017, we had thriving groups coming once a month.
Yeah, We Are Q.
To hear not just me talk.
Congratulations.
With Chuck No Yes. Chuck No Yes, who run, he's no longer with us, but he's the one that started We Are Change LA. I mean, started LA 9/11 Truth. But guess where We Are
Well-
Change LA started
Well, he
from?
didn't even start it. Yeah, he didn't even start it.
Oh, who
That
did?
started with Kathleen Rosenblatt and what's her name? Another woman. They got it falling out, but yeah, a lot of drama in these freaking groups. It's just crazy.
Yeah. But We Are
That's
Change
pretty
LA
good.
was derived out of the LA 9/11 Truth group.
That's right. That's
And so
right.
now, he
right.
just took whatever he had left over to go back to
That's
LA
right.
9/11
That's exactly
Truth.
right.
I'm like,
Yep.
wow, what progressive.
I was part of 9/11 Truth LA, and I went over to We Are Change LA.
Yeah.
Because they were more active.
And the best part, go ahead, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were more active, and then he's here bragging about how he has this whole new group of people now from 9/11 Truth LA actually to join the We Are Change, but he put We Are Change LA over to 9/11 Truth LA.
Yeah. And just for the records, just so people know, I mean, with LA 9/11 Truth, if you're thinking, well, aren't you guys a 9/11 group? Why aren't you guys just together with, that group since it's that title? Well, Chuck No Yes told everyone that basically don't talk about Israel. Oh, he's Jewish himself. He was Jewish himself. But he completely forbid it because he got tired of it. And guess what? He had very few people. He was only getting 7-8 people a month for his meetings, which would go for 4 hours at the Unurban Cafe in Santa Monica. And, that's what people are like, well, this guy's a goddamn shill. He don't want to talk about the dancing Israelis and the van test positive for explosives. Hello. Keep going, sorry. Man.
A computer screen and monitors, and I played videos and audios, and we reviewed a lot of world events over the next 2 years. Thriving group, and it was just a great experience.
So thriving that he had to move to Las Vegas. He had to move to Nevada. It was so great.
So thriving that it fell apart.
Yeah.
Was done with it. I felt that it was time to move on.
No. You just don't. Okay. You got the thriving group I built, and all right, time to move on.
Just too successful for me. I need to go move to Nevada.
Yeah. I don't want to take responsibility for a thing I just created.
Left alone in the room with no one going to their group, which ultimately led to them having to shut the group down. That is a verdict, nothing to do with burning. That is a testament to humanity. See, you can't suppress knowledge or even, put it this way, Andy,
Then why did you do it, Bernie?
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
Yeah. And here's the thing, the Northern California 9/11 Truth Groups kind of had this kind of problem too with one other member. He's no longer alive either. I forgot his thing, but there was this whole thing going on with Ken and with Barbara Honecker, and it was all over the Pentagon too, right at the same time we were having ours, ironically. So that was weird.
Would you forcibly tell someone that they have to believe in controlled demolition? Would you force it on them? Would
Okay,
you go
first
on
of all,
website
let's
and
just stop right there. Stop right there.
Yeah, sure.
All right, you guys know me. I don't force anybody to believe shit. I'll present the evidence. You want to believe it, believe it. If you don't. I don't give a shit one way or the other. But at least present the damn evidence. Otherwise, how do you know what I'm forcing anyone? You claim I'm forcing anyone to believe?
Yeah.
I never got to present anything. We never got to it. We never got to it.
Right. I think that theme basically was also a stab at us in which Craig McKee and Andy Steele basically says about me and Nelson that we tried to force them to believe what happened at the Pentagon. And that's not necessary. That's not true at all. In fact, we attack their position, whereas they attack our personality.
people who don't agree with architects and engineers on the truth. Think about it. So it's not, even if you were right or wrong about controlled demolition or me, whatever the topic may be, this is not even about the actual topic itself. This is about the behavior and what these guys do, what they do, and are apparently still doing 6 years later.
Stop right there.
Oh.
It's about what these guys are doing. What do you guys do? You mean call you on the phone and suggest a topic that you say no?
Yeah, that's it. He doesn't know what we're doing the last 6 years. He has no clue.
He had no idea. He had no idea what we were doing. He had no idea what we were doing for a year and a half or two prior to the whole beer change debacle.
Dude, he didn't
He
join.
doesn't know what evidence. He doesn't know what evidence we were wanting to present.
He
So
didn't
what is
do
he
it.
saying no to? What is he saying no to?
He doesn't.
He doesn't
He's
even
not
know.
following. He's not even following us on any social media platform or anything. The guy didn't join
No.
Twitter until he became a Trump supporter. The only reason why he joined Twitter is because of Trump. That's it.
Yeah, it's just so if I mean people can't see through this is like, yeah, I mean it's just, my God.
Wow.
I mean how arrogant can you be?
How do they live with themselves? That's what amazes me.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Mimics the behavior of people that want to shut you up. They want to force you to think like them. This is above and beyond being right or wrong. And that is the big message that I would share with your audience. This is about anyone who wants to force their belief on you. Anytime you force your belief and whatever it might be, that in and of itself should be looked upon suspiciously.
I agree.
Just like what architects and engineers did to Chris Arns.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this too, is that the beliefs that's getting forced on people, or that they're trying to, I don't think these guys are very good, but this is going to go somewhere, as I said. The beliefs that's getting forced is just more reinforcing of the official story. You're going to find out that these guys, what they're pushing here is not only that the official story, well, they say the official story isn't true, that the terrorist attack should have been bigger. It was more than 19 hijackers. At least one of them says that they can't speak on the physics of the demolitions.
That would be me, Adam Fitzgerald. I can't. I'll admit.
I'll admit it too. I'll admit it too.
Yeah.
I'm ignorant.
I'll defer to physicists.
Exactly. Someone who knows what they're talking about, right? So that's what Craig McKee should do. That's what Andy Steele should do, because they obviously don't know anything about geopolitics. Because why? They don't believe in hijackers or hijacked planes. So what do they believe in? I don't even know what they believe in or what they study, but they don't study anything. If there's no hijackers and the planes that weren't hijacked, the phone calls are fake. The people on these planes were killed somewhere, or maybe they don't even exist. What in God's name are you studying about 9/11?
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into all that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's play it.
But we'll get to all that later. But this is what is going on. It's a progressive campaign to push more and more of the official story on people. Bernie broke it up in LA, completely trounced these guys. They're still staying after all these years. I mean, Bernie's moved on. He's very successful with what he's doing now. He's forgotten about these guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear
So
that.
so successful he doesn't even have a YouTube channel anymore. So successful he has to move to Nevada and do what?
Still mad about it. So they create this fake profile.
I'm happy for him.
And there's more than one person that's in on this, you'll find out. And they're using this to push out things, using it to promote Nelson Martin's movies. They're using it to even...
Wait, let's stop right there for a second. Let's stop right there for a second. Just a real quick question. Nelson, did you consult me with respect to the fake profile creation?
No, not at all. Did this all myself, and I surprised all you. And in fact, I fooled some of you guys, you know, for a while.
I was fooled. I was like,
not Ed. Ed figured it out fast, but not me like Adam.
Actually, it took me a minute though, because I got a message from Bernie Suarez. I'm like, what the fuck did he send me a message for?
Oh,
and then after a while, I figured out it was you. But yeah, but you never asked my permission. You never consulted me on it.
Right. I was fooled for months, and I had no idea. Because I don't know anything about Bernie. First of all, I don't know the guy. I've heard the name slightly here and there, but I didn't know him, and I thought for months.
Yeah, you pay attention to all the people who have the FOT banner, and that's the other thing they didn't want to mention. They didn't want to mention that it had, what was the FOT? I forget what I always say. FOT.
The Claudio Marti banner.
Yeah. Face of Truth. Yeah, the Face of Truth banner. They didn't even want to acknowledge that was even on the profile picture. They're avoiding all these details. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make this very clear too. Andy Steele is trying to paint a picture that me, Ed, and Nelson were in this together to create this Bernie Suarez profile and other profiles in the hopes of spreading the official narrative. I'm in my response video, and I'll say it here too. They don't even know what the official narrative is. To them,
Correct.
the official narrative is 19 Islamic men hijacked 4 planes and crashed them into the Pentagon, Shanksville, and the World Trade Center towers. That's it. They don't know anything else besides outside of that. And that is just a small part of the 9/11 final commission report. Because I'm willing to say, even Ed, that I don't think they read the book.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of data points.
Right.
And each data point has to be looked at on its own merit. And if you're going to sit there but see, here's the thing, that's too much work for them. It's too much work for a lot of people. So they don't want to do it.
No.
And because they don't do it, they take one data point, trying to find out if it's false or not, throw that out and throw out all the other data points with it. And if you support one data point, then they say, oh, you're supporting the entire official story.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like Barbara Honegger.
It's all or one.
Right.
It's all or nothing. It's like it's not any critical thinking involved here. It's not like, oh, this part's wrong, this part's correct, this part is half truth. This, it's not like that where a rational person would look at it. But it's either all or it's all in or all out. It's not the way to look at it.
This idea that you shouldn't care about the demolitions of the towers. I mean, here's one quote under the Bernie Suarez Facebook profile. Does anyone here have any idea how many of the nearly 3,000 victims actually died specifically as a result of the demolitions or collapses when the buildings came down rather than the consequence of the hijacked airplanes? So again, trying to push people more towards the geopolitics and the hijackers and the terrorists and saying, who cares about the demolitions?
Because God forbid, if you actually studied the geopolitics, it would take you to where the suspects reside.
Yeah.
It will answer the demolition question.
Right. And look, first of all, my first 4 episodes of my podcast, Dark and Hour, I interviewed David Chandler, Wayne Costi, Ross Muir, people who know what they're talking about physics. And I wasn't a softball with them. I gave them some, Richard Cox did most of the work here, but he basically asked them tough questions. He took questions from people like Mick West and gave it to them. And David Chandler and Ross Muir and Wayne, they hit it out the park. And I wasn't surprised at this. And I said, these people don't, they're not afraid to debate the issue either. And I tried to get Mick West to debate David Chandler on the show. Mick West turned it down. Needless to say, that would have been a great, podcast. I couldn't tell you who won, but, David Chandler's work is much more extensive in regards to the World Trade Center than Mick West. But regardless to say, what I'm trying to tell Andy Steele and Craig McKee here is that I don't tell people not to look at the physics, but the bigger picture here, and it's obvious, factually obvious, that the geopolitics is where most of the suspects lie in regarding 9/11. Oh, pre 9/11, many years prior. And there's one subject that Nelson, and I'm going to let him talk here about this. One thing that they never mentioned, 1993.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, but I was going to say is that thing about the question that I posed, how many people really died as a consequence from the destruction of the towers versus any result of the planes. I got no answers. Nobody answered it. Nobody did any math. Nobody cared. And I actually, because this is a point I'm bringing up in my new film, because there's only about 20% of the victims out of all 3,000 victims are actually dead from the building collapses, versus everyone pretty much died from a result of the hijacked planes. Whether it was the fires, whether it was jumping out, whether it was smoke inhalation, all that.
Meme that I read last week, the one that says it's 5:20 p.m. It shows Building 7. It says it's 5:20 p.m. Who am I killing? That comes directly from Nelson's Facebook profile.
Oh, yes, it does.
I got access to later, but we'll wait for that point in the story. But we've got a very, very bad behaving group of people out there.
Bad.
You're a Satanist.
I'm a Satanist.
That's we're later.
Yeah, wanting to talk about 9/11 is a really bad thing.
Yeah. Right. And, this is first of all, for everyone listening up to this point, bless you. And second of all, if you made it this far, you're like, well, why aren't they attacking Nelson's work or Ryan Dawson's work or even me? You know, I do a little bit of work, and it's because they can't. And Ryan Dawson said this at the beginning of the show, they can't do it. That's right. And this is the reason why. For 2 hours and 45 minutes, all they did basically was say that we're just rude people.
You're mean.
Like,
You're mean.
Whang.
Yeah, keep going.
Aggressive and very suspicious. Craig, you know, I had never heard of Nelson Martins before.
You know, and that's a stretch, pal. Considering that you're always on YouTube, and yeah, you say I'm not on Facebook, but you post. Like before I blocked you, you post daily. You know who this is. And according to some people in architects and engineers, basically you guys are hypocrites. Because what I was told is that you have people who are affiliated with people from architects and engineers who create their own fake profiles and troll us.
Oh yeah, like
That's
Gene
the guy-
Larentonda. Yeah, Gene Larentonda. He's got like 7, 8 different kaboom ones with the word boom or bim. You know.
And I'll even make something worse. Eric Sandstrom, before he turned on you, that's your fault. Before he turned on you, used to actually, he had an album on his Facebook. I remember this. It's like sword. And so did Simon Faulkner, architects and engineers. So did David Chandler and Wayne Costi and Ken Jenkins, even John Wyndham, Fran Shure. All these people were doxxed because Eric Sandstrom has an album of all of us, myself, Nelson, okay, our pictures, our information, and where we live. And if anybody posted where they worked, it was on there too. And that's when I saw that comment about Kelly David, about David Chandler, when Eric Sandstrom posted, and Eric Sandstrom attacks that guy daily at one point. And
Yeah.
basically, I saw the comment with Kelly David where he said, well, somebody should tell him, or give him a piece of, somebody should tell him off or something like that. And regarding where he taught, I think it was at the University of Colorado.
So yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Is that right? But I mean, what does that imply? You know, yeah, I can't prove it. Why? Because I don't got a screenshot. Sorry, you know, I'm not as gossipy as you guys over there, and you know, Andy Steele and Craig McKee. I'm sorry, I don't keep these things. But you know, your guys are really hypocritical. I mean, Bernie, I left that up to Ed and Nelson because they know you best. But for God's sakes, Craig McKee, you're a hypocrite because you basically advocated for those and said nothing. And Andy Steele, basically, you said that Craig McKee's your friend, and my friends don't do that. Well, guess what, Andy Steele? You're feeling it right now from Eric Sandstrom because he turned on you and he calls you a shill. Well, he's been doing that for me and Nelson for 5 years. He did that to David Chandler and Wayne Costi for 10.
But I asked you about him. You seemed to have an idea of who he was. Apparently, he said some wacky things out there. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. No, I was well acquainted with Nelson. You know, when
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, wow, this is what this is now. Now I get to my real 9/11 research. Good
when
luck.
this happened, I'd had quite a few battles with him on Facebook. Him and his buddy Adam Fitzgerald, who I know we'll get into more. But no, Martin's he loves to. First of all, anybody that he's attacking, he loves to link them to Alex Jones. And he
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and why do you do that, Nelson?
Yeah. And he didn't even add Ed because he's had lots and lots of debates with Ed. Like ridiculous.
Yes, he
like,
has.
yeah, I mean, I don't think he even has him blocked. But I mean, even more so with Ed
I do
and
now.
me. Oh, he does now? Oh, okay, yeah. And he blocked me.
I have him blocked. I have him blocked.
Oh, okay. Well, he blocked me. He couldn't even take it. So we keep going. This is gonna get good.
say, well, you just love Alex Jones, which of course I don't above Alex Jones. Quite the
Yeah, you
opposite.
do. Yeah, you do. You believe the moon landing's fake. You promote all the same stupid garbage. You have a whole thing that says 9/11. That Operation Northwoods was the plan of 9/11. Who has promoted that? Alex Jones. You are just, so what if you focus on the Israeli stuff? Your stuff is still, it may be an unkoshered version of it, but it's still kookery. It's still all utter kookery. So yes, Craig McKee, you are one and the same with Alex Jones. whether you like him or not. You promote the same asinine, outlandish worldview.
It was quite ill-chosen, an ill-chosen attack, but I don't think he really cares. It's just like, you know, he sort of throws whatever he's got at you, and whatever sticks, and whatever doesn't. And of course, if you dare question the official story of Sandy Hook, well, then look out. You'll be branded for life as a Sandy Hook.
It's going to get good. Keep going. No one even need to get into that one. We'll let that part when Steele comes up.
All right.
Keep going.
Look at it.
And then Bernie's laughing too. That's great. I know. Keep going.
Of any kind, but let alone a Sandy Hook. But I did a Facebook post myself where I kind of summed up some of the best of Nelson Martin, and so I could actually just sort of read a couple from that. He has this profile, and again, this is one thing that it's so obvious that it's him. You know, I don't have.
At least he meets. At least McKee knows that. At least it's a little bit sharper than Andy.
Right. Isn't that right? Like I knew it was him all along. Andy's like, you know, I played along for a year.
Yeah.
Right. Everything about it, and you know, as you said earlier, he has numerous fake profiles. I can name you several of them, but one of them is Lou Napoli. And the first time I came across Lou Napoli, he was asking to do.
I can tell you right now, that's not Nelson Martin. That's me.
Yeah.
I was Lou Napoli for a while because you guys kicked me out of all your groups. And that's the reason why I created that group. I created that profile. And I basically even alluded to the fact that I was to you guys.
Yeah.
You basically just said, and you knew this too. And so did Richard Elefritz. So did all the, Sheila Casey's and stuff like that. Because I wanted to see what you guys were basically promoting in your groups. And you basically kicked me out as Adam Fitzgerald before. So I couldn't get into these groups that you were moderating. And I don't know how you basically moderate like debunker groups. Some of you do.
Yeah.
I created that profile, and basically you blame Nelson Martin. Like Nelson Martin's like the Islamic State. If you farted, it's his fault. So it's almost like you blame him for everything, and yet on the same time, I didn't even. When I was Lou Napoli, I didn't bother with Nelson on. He didn't know who I was either.
Yeah.
Even though that he knew your origin of the name, if you did your studies, would know that Lou Napoli is basically someone who's affiliated with not just the 9/11 attacks, but the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
Yeah. Police New York detective
Right.
Lou Napoli.
Exactly.
Involved with the FBI and the whole sting. But of course, these idiots don't know any history. Nothing about that. And they would have been able to figure that out right there. Oh, Lou Napoli, this guy's, using a fake name from a New York detective from 93 and 9/11. No,
Right.
that just goes and shows you yeah.
Right. And I used this profile, the picture of a random guy on YouTube.
Yeah, some goofy looking.
Yeah, I felt bad. But,
and I didn't even know it was you for a long time too.
I didn't tell you. You didn't tell me to do it. Ed Brotherton didn't tell me to do it. I did it for the same reasons as you did. They kicked me out of all these groups.
I didn't even know who Lou Napoli was until they revealed it on this audio recording.
No, until right now.
And even then, I thought it was Nelson.
Yeah,
even then, I thought it was Nelson.
No, it wasn't. It's not me. It's Adam.
I wasn't going to reveal it until today.
No,
and I wanted to do it while we did this podcast.
Yeah.
And basically, I did it for the same reasons Nelson did his, was basically because you kicked us out of all these Facebook groups, and we wanted to know what the hell you were talking about. We wanted to troll you a little bit.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, these people are making a big ordeal about these profiles. I'm like, just like I told Adam yesterday, like, dude, I've had troll profiles, well, not all the time like I needed them, but I've had them since Friendster.
That's amazing.
Okay, since Friendster. Okay, I had an Al Jorgensen profile. I was pretending. Well, I had my real one, but then I had a one pretending to be the singer of Ministry. But it was obvious I wasn't me. But it's just like it was just fun.
Right. Listen, the difference here is I can safely probably speak for Nelson here. We didn't share personal information on nobody. We didn't threaten nobody. Yeah, we trolled you. Yeah, I mean, it's juvenile. But let's compare the crime here. You're basically saying that we're basically rude and obnoxious and obtuse people because we pick on you. No, we don't pick on your persona. There's a difference here. We attack your arguments, right? Because what you're purporting to the public as truth, and basically at the same time advocating for the removal of people who are challenging your position, like you did with David Chandler, Wayne Costi, Ken Jacobs, Chris Sarge, Simon Faulkner, and I can name 10 others. What you do is even worse morally. You basically say none of these people died on 9/11. These planes weren't hijacked. These victims' families screwed them and their feelings. I don't care about them. It's one big conspiracy. And you listen to the proponents of like Christopher Bolin, Rebecca Roth, Alex Jones. That's where it all comes from. Jim Mars, Jim Fetzer. I can, got it, right? You basically say, screw them, and you spit in the faces of thousands of victims' families. Can you imagine, Nelson, Ed, if they basically told somebody who's a parent or a loved one who died in the World Trade, who died on Flight 11 or 175, 7793, and say, hey, guess what? Those planes weren't even hijacked. Can you imagine saying that?
These people, we don't have no proof of McKee going on in the street and passing out flyers or any DVDs and running into people. I have that experience. Ed has that experience. We've had to run into people that counter us and try to call us crazy and all that. Not the safety behind the keyboard to do all that. No, in person. So we have experiences of dealing with different types of people, different kinds of reactions. And yeah, sometimes that'll happen. You might run into an actual 9/11 victim's family or someone that died. I've had kind of both. I've had a person who said loved what I was doing because they thought the explosives were put in there. That was like, yes. But then we've had other people, say, well, dude, I had somebody who was a passenger, or you guys are full of shit. Just look at that piece I used in 677 with that truther from Alabama. I forget his name. He's passing out. He ends up going to New Orleans, passing out stuff, and he runs into two people like checking out the flyers, have no problem. But then when they're reading the Pentagon part, they're like, wait, so you're saying you don't believe a plane hit? And you're like, dude, he's like telling him, dude, I was working at the fucking Pentagon when the goddamn attack happened. I saw the goddamn plane debris every fucking day afterwards. You people don't these people. I don't even know what Andy Steele does either. I've not seen any proof of him as being a street activism. So no, they've never put themselves on the line like that. So yeah, they're full of shit.
And not only that, like you guys, I was there at Ground Zero in 2019, and I know Gene Laratonda doesn't do this, so I'll speak on I won't speak on anything toward him. I actually respect him because he does actually go out of his way from Pittsburgh and stays at Ground Zero for a week. Now, there are other people that I saw that basically we're 2 blocks away from Ground Zero who are basically saying there were no planes hijacked and nobody killed at the World Trade Center. I was there. And to me, that's like a big FU with the middle finger.
Yeah.
People, I never even came. Now, yeah, I may have made a fake profile and trolled you, but that's the worst of my crimes. Same thing for Nelson. If you can't take trolling, what does the public say about you purporting falsehoods that basically absolve everyone from 9/11 when you say there's no hijacking of these planes?
Yeah, we have no. They have no.
But not just that, but they do. Bernie has got to be guilty of the worst because he's the one who got to go on all these podcasts after We Are Change debacle.
Right.
He got to go on all these podcasts and speak his version of everything that went down and how he was this freaking Superman that came in and saved the day, like he acts like, and none of us got to go on those shows and give our point of view. None of us got to tell our side of the story. He's literally trolling the entire podcast world with respect to 9/11 and talking shit about and making up lies about what really happened, what went down. Yeah. So it's like they have no room to talk.
No.
So what,
They're
what,
done. They lost their right to defend themselves with respect to this.
what is worse, us trolling you or you intentionally disseminating disinformation?
Yeah. Us trolling because we're being blackballed. Why
Right.
should we be blackballed? Why should I not be allowed on the main trace group on Facebook to post my films? If I'm like one of the few people who is putting out new films on 9/11, nobody's doing it.
And giving new information that nobody else has seen. But
And they're
afraid
wondering
of
why
that.
they're so and they're wondering why things are stagnant. Hello, you guys have reached a dead end.
They're controlling what people think. They're
Isn't
doing
that
the exact thing
Right.
that I was being accused of doing.
Yeah.
The No 757 hit the Pentagon Facebook group. And one of the questions that you're asked when you come in here is what your position is on that. And his position was that, No 757 hit the Pentagon. But then I noticed a post by him where he seemed to write in kind of very awkward and broken English. And then in another conversation in another group, he seemed to have like really good English. So I thought, okay, something's fishy here.
Obviously,
It's Adam.
I'm not even hiding the fact anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
But later on, Lou Napoli wrote an unbelievable, like 3,000 word thing about me, accusing me of being a Mossad agent, a CIA agent, of living in Ottawa, like just down the street from the Canadian Intelligence Service.
CSIS.
I don't live in Ottawa, I live in Montreal. He said I was a hockey dad with a loving family, which I got a big
Yeah, that's a bad thing, right?
chuckle out of since I used to play hockey and I like watching hockey, but I'm not a dad, and I don't know what the loving family refers to. But
You don't have a loving family?
Right.
he was really painting quite a portrait. He had me basically as this international mastermind who was, involved in just about every intelligence service on the planet. And so anyway.
And let me just shortly remark here. I did this on purpose to show you the hypocrisy of you, Craig McKee, because it was you who basically advocated for Eric Sandstrom to do the same, in which Eric Sandstrom calls everybody and anyone who believes a plane hit the Pentagon a shill, an operative, a paid agent, and did so for years, going back even 10 years. You did this to everybody. And what did you do, Craig McKee? That's what you did. It's nothing. And meanwhile, he's in your circle. He's reporting back to you. He's reporting to you and Adam Ruff and Adam Syed and Sheila Casey and Kelly David and that whole gang, right? None of yous said nothing when he docks David Chandler or Wayne Costi or myself or Nelson. You said nothing. But if I talk about you, that you're an agent with Canadian intelligence and that you're a loving hockey dad family,
I'm still waiting on the video where the podcast where they called them out, where they called them those guys out for that.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah, you'll be waiting some time.
Beyond that, I mean, I know full well this is Nelson, this is exactly his style. But beyond that, I'll give you a couple of examples of what he's. Oh yeah, he thinks Israeli agents have infiltrated the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 inquiry.
I didn't do that. That's funny. It's you, I know. I can't believe that.
I think it's almost like everything that is basically a person that contradicts their work, they blame you.
Yeah.
And for years. I mean, they blame you for everything and everything under the sun. And the hypocrisy is, like Ed just pointed out, the hypocrisy is that we're still waiting on the critique podcast that you'll make that condemns what you guys done for 10 years. I'll wait for that.
He says in a Facebook post, he says, having 89/11 Truth as your lead investigator is like hiring an OBGYN to do an autopsy.
Keep going.
Billing 7 is the most boringest subject to 9/11 Truth. With apologies to all English teachers out there for that sentence.
Yeah.
Nelson's a terrible writer, by the way.
That's true, even though it's you, Adam. But it's true. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm mad at that. But hey, I'm the one that's doing research. I'm the one that's writing stuff and
Again,
making films. I mean, what are you doing, Mickey?
Again.
What are you doing?
right. This is a
I mean-
mic drop here.
I mean, big deal. It's a Facebook post. Who cares if punctuation isn't correct?
Right.
No one gives a fuck. It's not a goddamn document, dude. Get a life. Keep going.
Notice how he's attacking the person. He's
Yeah.
not
Grammar.
attacking your work.
That's all he's had. That's all he ever has. That's all
Right.
his debates have ever been. Even on the Pentagon with Wade, it's just on Chandler. Let's keep going because we got to get this in.
Since Barbara Honegger was ordered by the State Department to attack David Chandler and Wayne Costi. He says that the COO of 8911 Truth, Kelly David, is a fake persona, as are Adam Syed and Adam Ruff. The latter two, for those who don't know, they're advocates for the no 757 hit Pentagon position. He says, he praised that, I quote, Sandy hookers are executed with AR-15. This is Nelson.
Yeah, that's directly. Stop.
Yeah.
Now he's reading from from stuff that I've said when he was still friend with me. He's not using Lou Napoli, thinking that it's me. Now this is really good.
Cards should be gassed.
Yes.
He argues that Hani Hanjour was a good enough pilot to fly Flight 77 into the Pentagon, and that it should be illegal to believe the Earth is flat.
Yes, I've said that.
He said those flat Earthers should be exterminated. That's in quotes.
Yes, I've
and
said that.
burned in crematory ovens. Also
Yes, I've said that.
he says those that believe.
Did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, yes. And that's the funny thing is, like, I'm saying all that and being completely just full of dark humor. I don't believe that people should be arrested for the, but it's to get the point. It's to ruffle the feathers because unfortunately on one of my profiles and even on my regular profile, I've got too many of these damn kooks. I want to get rid of them. So I do say some oddball one-liners that are like, what the fuck, to draw that kind of attention, to draw the kind of reaction that McKee's giving. So yeah, and then gassing and all that other stuff. I'm like, look, it's sounding like neo-Nazi like or whatever, but it's just like, well, if you actually know my position on Holocaust and all that stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm a revisionist. I don't even believe those things really happen as far as this, execution, the execution system. So it's
And
like,
guess what, everybody? I disagree. Guess what? I disagree with Nelson on that. Imagine that.
I know, exactly. I don't even get into it. But the point being is that, anybody who knows me knows that I'm full of shit. Is talking about gassing and all the World War II stuff, propaganda. Yeah, keep on going.
Hit the Pentagon should kill themselves. So this is the caliber of person we're talking about when we talk about Nelson Marty's. So yeah, I was familiar with him, and I'm glad to see that more people are seeing through him now.
Nobody on this show tonight believes in flat Earth. I don't know anybody that actually believes.
Oh, but you're okay with it. You guys are okay with it. You have people that are in that group that are. There are a lot of truthers that believe in that garbage, but you don't make no difference to you say nothing to keep those people clear, and and it's shooting yourselves in the foot anyways with all that.
No, you don't believe in flat Earth, there, Auntie, but you're friends with people who don't believe anyone died at Sandy Hook, that we didn't get on the moon, or nobody died at 9/11.
Yeah, you got to be a moonlander to be a flat earther, anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So instead of you wading knee deep in shit, you're only in ankle deep shit.
Yeah.
But it's the comments that he's making, talking about crematoriums, invoking images of the Holocaust.
See?
I mean, there's people I disagree with, but I don't get that angry.
Want to commit? Well, we don't think it should be illegal to have any particular belief, right? I mean, if somebody wants to
well, duh.
You're visiting their door.
Hello? Yeah, no shit.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. But you didn't get it.
Right. That's funny now, because now it's more profound, because guess who got fired in Cannes from Architects and Engineers? Chris Sarnes. So basically, yeah, you do believe in restricting free speech.
Yeah.
Don't give me that nonsense.
Yeah, that's true. That's the other point too. Exactly.
As long as you're not hurting anybody, you certainly have a right to your life and liberty.
Oh, but you don't.
Unless you're Chris Sarnes.
Right. You don't.
Unless you're David Chandler,
That's
unless
right.
you're Wayne Costi, unless you're
That's
Ken
right.
Jenkins.
I was just gonna. You stole my thunder. Right. Exactly. Here you are. You have no problem. In fact, you stood silent on the sidelines when they were being harangued for 10 years, sending death threats in their emails because they're telling you that Flight 77 crashed in the Pentagon. Oh, we got to shut this guy up. Tell him that, we'll threaten him with death or, we'll find out where he works. That's what Eric Sandstrom did. And Eric Sandstrom, before he turned on you, was a part of you guys. And you said nothing because you're hypocrites.
I may not agree with you, but you have a right to think whatever you want out there in this world. So this is Nelson Martins, folks.
And we have the right to challenge you on those positions.
Now, you'll see later on when he writes to me directly, he's asking why I don't have him on my show, basically to push his idea that we shouldn't care about the controlled demolitions and 9/11 was a much bigger
that's what I said. Sure.
Once you know how bad
Sure.
the threat actually was. Well, now you're being featured, Nelson. So congratulations. And I love how you thought you were playing me this whole time. And actually, we were all playing you.
You're right.
like a broken tailor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Even Craig McKee admitted that I knew it was him all along.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not fooling anybody in your fake wannabe Christian Slater voice, dude. Sorry.
Person is associated with these types of claims. People being shot and killed, and for believing differently from him. And I agree with you, Andy. This is
And Bernie, of course, believes it. Of course, yes.
The actual topic. And I was thinking while Craig was saying this that that the Nazis had the brown shirts to force people to accept what the Nazis were doing. And this is we're in information war, and these are like the information war brown shirts. It feels that way. Like, this is what you're gonna believe. And if we can do whatever we can do to, drive your future in a certain direction, we're gonna do that because
if we're the brown shirts, then they're the Nazi media.
Listen, first of all, I never forced anyone. I couldn't do it anyway. I don't force anybody.
Good.
I challenge your position. Nelson,
exactly.
Too. We've been doing it for you. We've been begging you for years to debate. Literally begging you. Christopher Bolin, Craig McKee, CIT, Loose Change. Guess what? None of you did. 5 years. Nothing.
And I go even further than that. I don't even want to debate anymore. I want to have a discussion. I want to have a discussion and actually speak about the viewpoints that we have, so that we can and we elevate each other's position to the greatest degree possible, so that we can actually focus on the position rather than attack each other's character, and let the truth be revealed.
And I'm with you 100% here. But I know Bernie Suarez says later that he would debate David Chandler. No, you won't. You won't debate Nelson or Ed. And you won't be
like he needs to go to Chandler. Like what? Why? It's just like, dude, you can debate some of the basic normal people, and they'll ask you.
He could debate a freaking. He could debate a salamander, and it would still have more sense than. I could crap a bowl of alphabet soup and make more sense with respect to 9/11 than Bernie Suarez.
Exactly. Not believing what we are telling you to believe. So I just want to throw that out there. They remind me of the brown shirts.
I compare him to the Taliban here. It's just a very extreme form of 9/11 truth. Like,
wow, Arabs now exist. Arabs now exist in Andy Steele, but they didn't exist in 1993 or in the 90s, but they disappeared in 2001. But now they exist. Now he'll talk about the Middle East and some Middle East,
Andy, you're right there.
Dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're almost there, Andy. You're almost there.
Keep going.
You're getting close to geopolitics, dude. Keep going that route.
Questions. all and all behind them. Do you renounce that? So something like the Inquisition from the medieval days or something. And they do this. There's an entire group out there that sits there and badgers people over this issue and wants them to renounce it. They don't like me because I don't give them what they want.
You say the extreme form of 9/11 truth, but let's not forget that what they really are doing with different
Tell us,
different
Bernie.
characters using
Yeah.
Tell us what we're doing.
Tell us.
Tell us.
different sort of approaches. They're trying to push us all closer and closer to the official story, or at least to create so much diversity and doubt about what generally.
Like there isn't already. This is why we're having this whole issue for. That's the reason why we're having this whole thing, because there is all this division and doubt.
But here's something he said interesting. And he said this in another interview he did recently, where he said people like us are trying to create, and he said, cognitive diversity. Now, I looked up, I know what it means, but I looked up cognitive diversity. Basically, it means that people who have a different way of thinking in order to solve problems, et cetera, et cetera. And I would think that would be a massively, massively positive thing to have in any group. When you have a diverse group of people who think differently with respect to solving problems, so that all these points of view can be harnessed and actually used and have this intellectual, the total sum of all the intellectual capacity of the
like a
group
think tank,
being maximized.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with cognitive diversity. But Bernie wants everybody to think like he does.
Yeah, but we're collective.
There is no diversity in thought.
But we're a collective because we have an objective. These people are doing things that are completely leaving that objective.
Right, but the point is though, he doesn't believe in having people think differently than him.
Yeah, I agree.
He thinks everybody should be thinking the same.
Yeah.
Everybody should think the same. Everybody should be using the same thought process to solve problems. Yeah. And guess what, Bernie? The world don't work that way.
Yeah, his objective is like, we need to preserve this genre of conspiracy theories. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. And
that's
if you don't think that way, that's going to cater to that objective. Then the objective is to keep alternative media alive. Not that it's all been pushed by 9/11. Big words make himself sound. He's using big words, making himself sound smart, and that's all it is. I thought it was funny. Cognitive diversity.
Positions that we generally take, they want to create doubt, and they're now linking the idea that there were no hijackers, there were no actual hijackings on 9/11. They're putting that in the same category with people who think that there were holograms and that beings from space.
It is the same.
It is.
What's the difference?
Ridicule.
Yeah. He thinks like no, we're better because we believe in the science because it's solid. Like we just don't believe there's hijackers in there. We just believe that planes are swapped and nobody took off from the airports, and then everything else. But it's like what makes it? They're all fantastical. They're all fantastical beliefs, whether it's CGI and swap planes. They're stupid.
None of them are supported by evidence.
None of them are. None.
Period. End of story.
Right.
You are a no-planer, McKee. You are a no-planer, Craig McKee. Deal with it.
When we talk about no planers, we're saying that you don't believe that planes were hijacked, that they crashed at
authentic planes. The authentic hijacked planes, yes. Right. He doesn't believe.
Therefore, no planes, those planes in question are now missing.
Yes.
Therefore, no planes.
Right.
Amen.
You can't account for them.
Like, we had to explain this to you. Not only that, Craig McKee, you actually think that CIT is the best theory out there regarding the Pentagon. And they believe a plane flew over the Pentagon. How is that any different than holograms?
Yeah. And he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know all of CIT's belief. He's never even properly asked any specific questions about the security camera, about how the poles were found, about what's their excuse for all the debris being found. He doesn't even know the specific details from Crank Reggie. You don't know why? Because I have asked him. I know what they are. I've met him in person. He doesn't. He just. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry, Adam. I cut you, dude.
No, I wanted you to finish. But the reason why we're talking about this, McKee, is that because you are no different than a CGI hologram. Because we're putting you all in one picture. You're wrong.
Yeah.
And
He's a hoaxer.
Right. This is the reason why you don't debate the issue. You won't ever talk 9/11 with Nelson or myself or Ed Brotherton or Ryan Dawson or anybody else who could show you in less than 5 minutes your position is false. Why? Because we got the physical evidence. We got the eyewitness testimony. We got the technical data from the flight data recordings that they found at Shanksville and Pentagon.
Oh, but those are all made up and
we-
those are made up and doctored and
Yeah.
Right, but that's fine. You want to make that claim? Guess what? You have to prove it.
yeah, that's
We-
right.
we- yeah.
Yeah. And that's
I've-
why you hate us.
Yeah.
Because we demand evidence. Oh, would you look at that? Demanding evidence. Wow. A profound idea.
A lot of kind of mainstream 9/11 positions, I think, to the point where they're trying to get people to be almost afraid to express those positions. You know, and the Pentagon thing is just one example. You know, the how ridiculous it is that Flight 77 didn't hit the Pentagon. Well,
Yeah. How ridiculous it is. You're the ones who made the group no plane hit the Pentagon. You're the ones who basically vet people if they believe a plane hit the Pentagon. And that's why you don't invite me or Nelson or Ed or anybody else onto your groups. Because you're the ones who forced that belief, who try to do it.
Yeah.
We
Gross.
challenge your position. We don't tell you not to join groups. We beg you people to come to our groups. We don't say, oh no, you're not allowed. Well, I've literally been begging you for years. Nelson's been doing it for far longer, telling you, come. We don't make groups where we say, yeah, no planers, we're not gonna, we invite you and we challenge your position. That's how it works. You don't challenge our position, and what you do is the opposite. You challenge the persona and just say, oh, they're rude. That's your defense.
Yeah.
That's your default.
Yeah, as if their theories aren't gross.
Right, exactly.
you know, that's what most people think in the movement, majority. So they're trying to just make it seem crazy so that people will just like want to stay away from that. And they keep pushing the goalpost like bit by bit by bit.
Talk about goalpost moving, huh?
Jesus.
Go,
Those guys
Ed,
are like masters at moving the goalpost.
Well,
I mean, they
tell
moved the goalpost so many times it went all the way around the world.
dude, keep going, Ed. I mean,
Oh my
remember
God.
Adam Ruff? Remember when you
Adam
remember when-
Ross, you get that Larry guy I just blocked yesterday. The guy. I mean, name one, and they have moved the goalpost.
Yeah, I mean, you specifically went over. I remember a rant you've had with Adam Ruff, with Craig McKee's Lemmings, you know, and you went specifically how he was moving the fucking goalpost, like ridiculously, like. And then when you went by his standards, you tried to make him go to yours, and it's just like made him look like a fucking fool. And that's what he had to block you. He couldn't even handle it. He had to block you.
So, yeah. Who does that remind you of today at the street level? Who's trying to bully people into believing in a certain way? It reminds me of what Antifa does. Like, you have to believe like them, otherwise we're going to burn down your store. We're going to intimidate you and get in your face with black
He
powder.
just like equate us to Antifa.
Yeah, not very good,
All right,
but not very well.
I just want to make sure. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
Good one.
Hey, team. This, you know, you will agree with us or else.
The irony here is that the efforts of these people and the badgering, particularly of me from another sect of this, the irony here is like Anakin Skywalker. Like here we are talking about the Pentagon now on 9/11 FreeFall. So they're actually causing us to talk about it more just because of their behavior.
And you've got us mentioning Sandy Hook. Where did that come from? And
Right.
Alex Jones, whatever. So, yeah.
And the thing is, I don't even believe in any of those things. I mean, I believe there's a guy named Alex Jones out there, you know, but I don't.
Hey, Adam.
I don't subscribe
Adam,
to any of
stop it.
those things.
You know, I want to make
Better
sure.
stop it,
I wanna
Adam.
make-
Oh, yeah. Did you want me to stop it?
Yeah, Nelson.
he was basically, Bernie sounded like he was trying to say like he is disavowed the Sandy Hook theory. Did it not? I mean,
That's what it sounded like to me. But like I
keep
said,
going.
Here's the thing about now. Here's what he's doing. He is erasing his entire past. Is what he's trying to do.
Yes.
He's trying to disassociate himself from his past.
Keep going because this is the part where I think Andy's going to talk.
The whole Pentagon thing, because I know that it gets to the point where people say, oh, geez, they're making us talk about the Pentagon. Well, we should be talking about the Pentagon. I don't mean on this show, but I mean in the movement. It should be a topic because it's a very important topic for showing how the official story falls flat. But what these people have done over 15 years is really make everybody kind of afraid to talk about it. Because they get this false idea that it's so controversial.
The only person who's been afraid to talk about it is Craig McKee. I mean, I've seen it in his own posts. I mean, when I was trolling it in his group, someone posted up a close-up picture of the Pentagon attack, of the hole, and I have the words right there. I screenshot it. Like, I had never even seen these photos. He even says it. I was like, I've not even, I haven't had time to look at it. But you got time to write all these hit pieces on David Chandler, and you haven't even gone over the basics.
Right, you got time to tell us what didn't happen at the Pentagon, but you don't have time to research the Pentagon to tell us what did really. Well, I see, I'm even confused now.
It's complete idiocracy. Can you put the blocks in the hole?
Right.
Can't put
exactly right. It's the reverse. See, you start from the premise that you know what didn't happen as opposed to what happened. Right. So you just come right off the gate and say, oh, I know what didn't happen here. Flight 77 didn't crash the Pentagon. And then when I ask you what happened, oh, I don't know. It's not for me.
But I just know that no way a plane could have crashed in the Pentagon. Right. That's impossible.
Well, can you imagine?
Why is it impossible? Because the plane can't fly like that, or because the hole's too small, or blah, blah, blah. And then all those issues can be addressed easily if they shut up and listen and or pay attention. And then
a homicide detective coming on a crime scene where he sees a dead body and immediately announces, oh, I know what didn't happen here.
It wasn't arson.
It makes sense.
Or it's just like running to the crime scene at the Pentagon. Gee, well, I'm not looking at the hole, whatever. Gee, I wonder if the pilot was skilled. Oh, I'm not going to go look at the crash site. I'm not going to look at the damage. I'm not going to question anybody.
I'm not going to. Right, exactly. Yeah.
But somehow I just came up with this, it's, intriguing. Like, gee, I wonder who piloted this.
But like, it's a bad subject. It's not a bad subject. It's just they want to turn it into something that, ridicules everything except the official story. Or most of the official story.
Your position deserves to be ridiculed.
Right.
Basically promote. You promote no plane crash gets to the Pentagon. You promote planes were hijacked. Yes, it goes against the evidence, the documented evidence. Yeah, it deserves ridiculed. Sorry.
I just want to make that point,
Right. So let's move on here before this turns into a 3-hour show here, because I want to get the whole story out.
It is basically long. I mean, right. You want me to fast forward to like near the end?
No, just keep going because this is supposed to be the part where Steele gets into Sandy Hook.
Oh, so as you can see, I did not come out and say, hey, you're fake, you're really Nelson. I wanted some more evidence. And I was curious about some things as well, as you'll find out. Particularly, what would compel somebody to make a fake profile, specifically of someone else that they didn't like? I watched Fake Bernie. I talked to him sometimes, pretending to be oblivious to.
You know what's funny, Nelson, is that I'm almost certain now. Maybe you'll disagree. I'm almost certain, like they think we're going to be afraid not to say that. Oh yeah, we made fake. I'm telling you, yeah. Who cares? I'm comparing my fake profile to your position. You're worse in this. Don't think that you could look in the mirror and say, you see, they admitted their fake profile. You do exponentially worse. You intentionally disseminate false information. I rest my case.
Yeah, let it play.
Yeah,
who he really is. And one thing I noticed that Fake Bernie, as well as Nelson himself, were very active on Facebook, always there to trash people in the movement, especially those who have the no 757 hit the Pentagon position.
Yep.
Or questions about Shanksville. I think, Craig,
Oh,
you said it best one time. You said these people are like the black mold growing on Facebook. Not just Nelson either, but these other hyenas in his pack. And they also attempt to debunk AE 9/11 truth, whatever they can. They attempt to. And they even do it in Bernie's name. I saw something out there where they were attacking thermite, the use of thermite and the possibility of it. And they were doing this.
Yes, I do.
Right. This is where me and Nelson disagree. Now, that's fine. I don't attack Nelson, and Nelson don't attack me. However, yeah, we disagree on this one subject. See, wow, look at that. Whoa, we're not as the same, or we're not in the symmetry as you claim to us to be. How about
Bernie's name? This is misrepresenting Bernie's position. And even though Bernie hadn't talked about 9/11 in a long time, moved on to other topics on his show. There may be truthers that heard Bernie first on this show and followed him over.
No, not really. Not really. He never had a social media presence. He only had a YouTube channel, which was way late in the game. Never showed himself really in it. So no, he doesn't. And this just to let them know, having that profile, I'd only been approached, like I was approached by Andy. I was approached by Gene Larentonda, who was pissed off now that he found out who it is. It was hilarious, but. There's only 2 other people that knew about it. Like, hey, Bernie, hey, look, dude, good to see you on here. Did you get any more Q drops? It was all
Q drops. I learned.
Yeah.
What that is.
Yeah, it was just only 2 people, and it was all Q tards. Not even like So no, he doesn't really have any presence in 9/11 truth. Keep going.
Yeah, and why would he lie about being associated with Jones and Q?
Well, it's actually having an impact. Could have an impact on his work.
I want to clear something up just because what you just said. Well, we examined some of the comments being made by this fake Bernie, and everything that he's saying, almost all of it is untrue. And what this fake Bernie has done is repeating this notion that Bernie doesn't talk about 9/11. And he's even quoting
No, you don't.
That something we just read, right? That Bernie announced to these 2 guys, we don't talk about 9/11. All of that is nonsense. My audience will tell you every year I've been covering 9/11 nonstop. Maybe it might be just once or twice a year, but I'm still covering it. And
That's not covering it. You're just doing it on the anniversaries.
Now, let me say something here. All right, now, in his defense, when he was part of We Are Change, he was the one who consistently put out the tablings with 9/11. All right, I'll give him that. But that's the only time, whenever we're out doing some sort of activity or action, he's the one with the 9/11 table. I'll give him that. But at post WACLA, I don't know. And during WACLA, during that meeting, he did say, "Who gives a shit about 9/11 14 years ago?"
Yeah, he did.
I was there. I heard him say it. So. And then post WACLA, I've never heard him really bring it up, except in context of how WACLA went down. So I don't know where he's at today or whether he speaks about it today.
He doesn't.
But, so I don't listen to his podcast. I don't listen to his show. I don't pay attention to his Q drops, or any of that. So I can't say one way or the other, but I guarantee you. He did insinuate he don't give a shit about it.
Yeah, and he just did it right now because he only does it, like he says, annually every year. Well, that's what Jones does now. That's what a lot of people do. That's what it's like,
Yeah.
And deeper into 9/11. 9/11 is a big deal. It's still arguably the crime of the century.
No, not to you.
Bernie would not cover 9/11 is not only a lie, it's purely false also.
No, you do. You don't cover it. There's stuff to talk about it still every day till this day. We're always meeting. Adam's always posting things up. Every day. There's always something. There's something coming up, whether it's Gitmo, whether it's something going on with the war on terrorism. There's always something to talk about. You people killed it off yourself because you went on jumping on chemtrails. You went on, on the next thing, Sandy Hook, every other false flag this, false flag, false flag,
And
false flag.
the reason why, it's important to point out, the reason why is because the information coming out at the time was stagnant.
Absolutely.
There's nothing new. And you couldn't do with anything with the information that was out there.
No.
You couldn't take it into a courtroom. It wasn't good enough.
No.
And it was it had to be reviewed.
Absolutely.
So that's what we did.
That's what we made this
went
group
back.
for.
That's right. And not like that, you and I, Nelson, were looking at this stuff for a long time. You especially.
Yeah.
You went. Nobody knows this. You went through. Spent probably a good year at least going through every freaking news report.
Yes.
From before, during, and after 9/11.
Yes.
Every news report.
That's the recent one I just even did with Bojik and Matt. I finished that.
You want to know how much work that is? It took you almost over a year probably to go through all that. A lot of human resources, money, because you were actually spotting things where a report would say something and then it would say something else, but you knew there was something in between that they didn't put out there, and you went looking for it and you found it.
Yes. Yes, there are times. Yeah, dude. Yeah, there are times I wouldn't. Yeah, I paid for archives. I paid for actual TV archives of when the Dulles videos was released. Those were costly. I mean, yes, all these reports were different. But you, Ed, look, you were way all into this. You went. You wrote that letter to Congressman Brad Sherman about when we were pushing the nanothermites thing, and that got you got a response, and that got on InfoWars. That was posted on there. So it's just like you've been into it. You did it. You were committed to this. You were, you went that far. And you also did other things that went to court, trying to do the mispersion of treason.
Right.
I remember all that. This was what you were about. You didn't like everything drifting off into different subjects.
No, I didn't. But
no.
Yeah. But the reason why is because the truth movement got stagnant. There was no new information, and you and me. And people like Adam we were seeking that new information. We wanted to bring it in and say, hey guys, we got new information here.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to hear it.
Yeah,
the bigger cover up than what they even know.
Oh, much bigger.
Good Lord. And this is where I say, I myself, I'm not a know-it-all. So I learned weekly information related to 9/11. And the areas related to it by people I commiserate, like Nelson, like Ed, and people on Twitter. I talk to people on Twitter, like lawyers from Gitmo, and one of them is Carol Rosenberg. She's a reporter for the New York Times. She's there at Guantanamo Bay. I just interviewed, what's his name, former Assistant Secretary of State Lawrence Wilkerson. His interview with me was illuminating because I, didn't know about certain things relating pre-9/11. Same thing for, when I interviewed Mark Rossini, who was a FBI agent out of Alex Station, or Terry McDermott, who wrote the book Perfect Soldiers and KSM. I learned from these people. It's not basically, I know what they're going to talk about. I ask their questions, and then their answers are much more illuminating than the work that they produce. And that's the context of what I'm trying to learn. So I'm trying to learn by questioning people. You don't question.
No, they have each other on as guests on their own shows.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So they'll interview
and they're not experts on anything.
Nothing.
Perfect. Yeah, I wanted to get with this a little bit too. Andy Steele interviewed Cheryl Curtis, Adam Syed, and Sheila Casey. Who are they? What work have they done regarding 9/11? And why would architects and engineers, who basically is, 9/11 FreeFall is basically the media arm of architects and engineers. And I know you have that disclaimer in the beginning, all the thoughts and ideas espoused on this program doesn't necessarily reflect architects and engineers. Yes, it does. Because the very people that you're interviewing are employees of architects and engineers. One of them is Craig McKee. He's a writer. And what does Craig McKee propose? That the planes weren't hijacked. So when the public looks at Craig McKee, when they say, oh, wow, Craig McKee's really nuts. That's who architects and engineers hires? Are they like that? So that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that they're reflective of your company. And that's why architects and engineers, there's a couple of people there who are basically knowing what's going on, and they're sick and tired of it. And I don't blame them. And we're trying to warn Richard Gage, oh, we're not doing this. Me and Ed and Nelson and Ryan Dawson, we didn't do this to stick the middle finger up at you. We didn't need to do that. All we need to do was play the audio and make a commentary and show you that what you're proposing is wrong. And not only that, you basically lied about the people involved in the podcast. That's what you did. And I don't need to tell you to drop dead or anything like that. Yeah, I'll tell you that, this and that, but I don't need to basically make this a roast. We're basically doing this to show you that you're the ones proposing falsehoods. You're the ones lying on people. And that's it. Here.
There's no truth to that. Anyway, I just want to clear that right now.
Exactly. And he's also using your name to promote his boring 5-hour film. And
He didn't watch.
you have a fan base,
Yeah,
Bernie. So
God forbid you watch it.
Yeah, fan base. What fan base does he have? He's not even on social media. I mean, he's gonna. Yeah, what? Has he got what? A BitChute channel? Oh wow. Yeah, all the Qtars got BitChute. So what?
We
Of course
spoke
it is.
about this yesterday, me and Nelson. You watched what's that documentary? Pearl Harbor documentary. That's 5 hours.
Yeah, Mizu Mazako, whatever that guy. Yeah. That was a film AE 911 Truth told as like a homework assignment.
Right.
You guys got to all watch it all when it came out in 2013 or 2014.
That's a 5-hour film.
Yeah, it's a 5-hour film. Boring. Don't even know if it's what it is.
Boring.
I didn't think Bernie
No idea what it is.
is behind this thing. So you can't do that. I can't come out here and say that Tom Cruise supports 9/11 Truth and put that out there and make a profile in his name. I would get sued. I would get sued if I did that.
I just thought, this has happened a lot over the years, and there's a lot of examples of this, and one example is a guy named Ken Dock, who runs the 9/11 Truth Movement Facebook page. He did a special page on his website about me, and in it he said that I supported the idea that there were holograms and space beams, and I forget what space. I can't remember what they all were, but that I supported these things, which is an absolute flat out lie. And he kept.
But you're nice to those people, but you're nice to them.
Right.
He doesn't.
Right. Exactly. You don't critique these people, right? Oh, by the way, that's false information.
Yeah, let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to do this with me. They're going to say think that the Sandy Hook kids are fake, even though I absolutely don't think that. Don't believe that. I actually had a teacher whose grandkid was involved.
Bingo. Nelson, what happened here?
There it is. There it is. Here is Andy Steele admitting his teacher, grandkid lost at Sandy Hook, right? What was one of the main reasons why Bernie Suarez left Wycliffe, broke it all up? It wasn't just the Pentagon attack, because we're enforcing that. We're not enforcing that, but saying, we need to reinvestigate that. The other thing was Sandy Hook, because Bernie all wanted to talk about Sandy Hook, and his new thing then was even the Boston bombing. He came in with the photos of the people who got killed and hurt and limbs blown off, and had them all circled saying, look, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake blood, this is fake. Okay? All continued downward spiral from the Sandy Hook thing. But he was adamant about it. Him and Bob Shuddy and all that. Bob Shuddy even messaged me like, Fitz, I think what's his name? Uncle Fester, Jim Fetzer. That Jim Fetzer's solid, that his book is solid. And mind you, I don't even need to explain what happened to his book because he got sued. Not even a lot, But
Amazon banned it, for God's sake.
Yes.
I think
We got vindicated.
I think it's the only book in the history of the world that's ever been banned on Amazon.
Yeah, these last 5 years these last 6 years since all this has been a complete vindication, Ed. You know what I mean? I mean, just everything what we said. So here it is. And I even told Bernie, making all these points, like, look, I know a girl named Tracy Lynn. She was part of We Are Change Hollywood, the short-lived one. She worked with an older gentleman at her job who also had a grandkid that died at Sandy Hook. I know Joe LaChance. Joe LaChance used to be part of We Are Change LA and We Are Change Hollywood, and he's from Connecticut. He went back to Connecticut during the holidays and ran into a police officer he knew who went to the crime scene, who went to Sandy Hook, verified it, solidified it, okay? I told them all this. They said, fuck you, you're lying, you must be a government agent, all that other crap. Now you got McKee. McKee pushes that shit too, pushing all the Sandy Hook stuff on his Truth and Shadows blog. He interviews Jim Fetzer, makes a big old stink. In fact, they got rid of his blog. WordPress took down his blog because of his Sandy Hook bullshit. It even happened to Ken Dock too. He was entertaining it for a while. That's the reason why they took down his WordPress site. So here it is. These two people that are supposed to be friends have some sort of association with Andy, and they can't have the simple conversation to confirm that the Sandy Hook shooting happened. I mean, mind you, right now, Bernie is saying, it seems like Bernie's trying to disavow himself from it now because of what he just said previously. But that's like what I said. He destroyed Wackala because of this. And now here he is with the guy he started the podcast with saying this, that his teacher was, grandfather of someone involved in Sandy Hook. And you called me an agent? You called me, CIA, whatever. Your fucking fantasy fucking bullshit. It infuriates me. It makes me so mad. What are these people talking about? What are these people talking about in their meetings? Aren't they exchanging these things? Weren't they talking about all the recent new conspiracy trends? And Andy couldn't fucking, all this time, couldn't have corrected Craig McKee? Give me a break. What? I mean, it's just, and why am I making a big deal about this? Let me tell you why. Look what happened. They deplatformed all the conspiracy theory content, all this stuff, because they went after Jones. They went after that, but guess what? Not Lenny Posner. He was an Alex Jones follower and 9/11 truther. I pointed all that out too, but you didn't care. You wanted to make him a victim. He doesn't even want this stuff, all the censorship. He just doesn't want to be a victim anymore. And yes, I have gotten in contact with Lenny Posner in the past year. I was able to. It was very hard to, because he's scared, because he's really, he's really feared of people attacking him. I was trying to even help him to deal with the situation with the We Are Change Florida that were going in and ambushing him when he was showing up at his courtroom meetings. They were filming him. He didn't want any more photos. He didn't want any of that stuff. So yes, coming back to the deplatforming thing. Yes, this has now has set the whole thing up with getting rid of conspiracy theories. This is why we've been having all these deplatforming, because of that. And how many people were out there saying the opposite? Dude, don't fall into this Sandy Hook crap. Comes from even American Free Press people I could bring up. Don't want to get on all of that. They were saying, look, you people are going down the wrong road, okay? And it bit them in the ass. It finally did. Look, this is one of my other things. Like, look, I don't agree with everything with Chandler, and I have certain issues, with him. Like, look, I didn't like the fact that not too long ago he had his Colorado meeting, and guess who he had as his guest speaker there? Kevin Barrett. And what was the whole thing Kevin Barrett was talking about? Censorship, all this stuff going on now with COVID and all these other things. Not once did he mention the Sandy Hook thing being the reason. No, because what? He co-wrote a book with Jim Fetzer. And now he's complaining that all this deplatforming and all this stuff is going on. Well, guess what, dude? Nobody asked you to make a Sandy Hook book. You did, okay? So, yes, this is very important. You here you have someone there, and look, even since recent, look, even Dave Von Kleist, who's deleted me off of Facebook as well, one of the original 9/11 Truth film propagandists made in plain sight, and the other one, Ripple Effect, believes no plane hit the Pentagon, all that crap. His daughter is friends with the school teacher, the music school teacher that was at Sandy Hook. That was involved. I've got the quote. I've got it in I even put in an article about this. So what are you people doing? What are you doing, Craig McKee, Bernie, and Andy Steele? Like, what are you people talking about? You say you're friends. You say you've known each other. How could you guys not get this straight? This whole thing is ruining your alternative media. It did.
Earlier.
Sorry, I could go off even more, but I mean, it really pisses me off. I mean, especially with the Bernie thing. I mean,
No, it's warranted because look, again, I go back to the word hypocritical because you're the guys who basically say that we're the ones promoting falsehoods by espousing the official narrative, the narrative that you can't even explain what it is because you don't know what it is. And then you had the nerve to say that we're the ones, promoting obvious falsehoods.
yeah.
Falsehoods that you never cared to this point to point out where we were.
Look, it's Andy. Andy, are you going to invite Craig McKee to contact your teacher and confirm all this? Are you going to help his mentality? Get his head straight? If he's your friend, you should.
Don't you care about promoting factual information? I mean, me and Nelson are probably really the most anal when it comes to this because, yeah, I care what I post. I post documents and files and I do all this stuff everywhere environmentally, and I try to share with people because it's primary source information. Nelson's films, for example, most of the films, 95% are from the news archives. They're not even his thoughts. They're freaking the news archives, all his films. So basically what we're doing is not even giving you our opinion. We're giving you factual information. And what do you say? You basically say we're purporting the official narrative because God forbid if we believe in hijackers and hijacked planes. That's a small part. This big.
Yeah. You cannot find a Sandy Hooker who doesn't believe no plane hit the Pentagon. It is one and the same.
100%.
It is same thing. It's the broad daylight false flag in the on the lawn. Those plane parts are real. Oh, look at the lawn at the Sandy Hook. It looks dead. It's not a functioning school. All the rescue and response. Oh, crisis actors. Same thing you said with the Pentagon attack.
Mark Wolf.
Yeah. It's derived. The Sandy Hook theory is derived from, they say create lies and bigger lies fucking, there's one right there for you. That's what Sandy Hook is. It is an outgrowth of the bullshit of 9/11 truth.
So
Yes.
The reason why we're so angry about this is because, yeah, we want to get it right for the public.
Yes.
That's it.
And this distracted our movement. How many fucking films that people were trying to pop up and all of a sudden you have all these fucking experts coming up, So much of our movement got derived and wasted their time on. You want to know why your movement's dead? Sandy Hook. That's one of the reasons why. People got sidetracked and all that. Mr. Steele. We're trying to correct things. But you're not getting it. You think you can just have all this, the smorgasbord and fucking, whatever theories, anything goes, everybody. No, it's not. Now they're coming down on you. Now it's big tech. It wasn't the Patriot Act, huh? Patriot Act didn't get your ass as a truther, did it?
Yeah.
And now big tech. They allowed you for years and years to post whatever you want on MySpace and Google and all the images. Didn't matter. They didn't all screw your brains up. Now they're coming after. Yeah, it's part of it's because of Trump. Not going to deny that. They had to fucking go after all his, all the platforms that were going to give him room to speak, but whatever. But they went over the weakest thing, Sandy Hook. Sorry, I had to vent.
No.
Killed. They're going to say that I think that the planes are holograms, even though I've said it on at least 2 shows I know of, maybe even 3, that I absolutely hate that idea. I think it's a ridiculous idea.
Why?
If you read my book,
I hate to do this again. Why is it a ridiculous idea? Is it any more ridiculous than having these planes not hijacked or a plane flying over the Pentagon? Is that less ridiculous? Right?
Both are all wrong.
Yeah.
There's no evidence for any of it.
Why? Exactly right. That's the point.
Yeah, no evidence for any of it.
I think about that. It doesn't matter. They're just hoping that it will stick, that it will sink into the subconscious of people if they just badger them enough with these comments, videos, because they're liars. And they're
prove it. Prove. I dare anyone. I beg. a guy, me and Nelson and Ryan Dawson, been begging, Red too, and brother, all begging you, begging you, debate us. I dare any no player. I'm saying it right on audio right now.
Tell us one thing we're lying about.
Right, exactly.
Tell us factually one thing we're lying about.
You had 2 hours and 45 minutes to point that out. You not once.
Not once did you. Yeah.
Not once.
Cowards. And when you look at this, it's hard
Cowards. Cowards. I just emailed Bernie.
It's funny how we had to stop this video after every other word.
No, it was because it was
Crazy.
that, but this we knew this was going to happen. We was so, I mean, this is why we're responding. We just couldn't believe how utterly stupid and full of lies this is.
Right.
Can't help it. I mean,
Exactly. I can't believe that you thought we were cowards or so. We're challenging. See, you're not challenging us. We're challenging you. I dare any one of you to come out of that circle.
I still have an open invitation to Craig McKee.
Sure.
Yeah.
Craig,
Any of them.
I know for a fact Craig McKean debate nobody. I know for.
No, he said he was preparing for a debate with Barbara Honegger.
Yeah, when's that happen?
That was a long time ago, but it was that's what the excuse he gave me for not debating me.
There you go.
Tell with this, with Nelson Martins or any of the other hyenas in this pack disagree with about the official story. It's like they want everyone to get lost in this mirror maze of geopolitics and posting these.
Wait.
Well, that's just not important, Mr. Taliban man.
Sorry, it requires work.
Oh, yeah, right.
God forbid, it requires some work, and it just shows that you're too lazy. You want to rely on everybody else's bullshit, so you have something to run with that sound all important. And that if you actually had to adopt the fact that there were hijackers and there were planes, and that means you have to go look into the history of the hijackers and how they carried out these attacks, and that requires you to actually read and look at some of the evidence that Nelson and Adam have been putting out there. And God forbid you do that, because then it changes your entire worldview, and everything you believed is now put in question. And then now you're invalid. Now you gotta confront the fact that you just have to you spent all these years believing in something that wasn't real.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't confront that. That is your guys' problem. You can't confront.
Yes.
And another thing, and this is something I told Barbara Honegger personally. God forbid you change your mind about what happened at the Pentagon. And you had to admit that. Say Craig McKee did. He basically has to tell everybody he knows.
Everybody, yeah.
You know what would happen to you, McKee? The same thing what you did to Chandler and Costi and Ken Jenkins.
And the same thing that happened to Wackler.
Right. Exactly.
I confronted. I put it up. Whatever happened, happened. So be it.
Well, what are we at right now?
42
We're at 10 minutes.
42
We're at 10 minutes.
42 minutes.
42 minutes.
Yeah.
Agreed, and just putting out this whole litany of names and firing those and saying that we should just look the other way from Building 7 and not care about that so much, because we're not going to get anywhere with that. But if you actually research thermal detonator here, Nelson, you see he get passed as a 9/11 truth person. Like he gets into these circles and people act like he's a truther, but he doesn't seem to like 9/11 truthers all that much. In fact, he was on Mick West's show last year, back in 2020. Mick West, if you don't know who that is, he's an open debunker. Somebody that is always in opposition of 9/11 truth. I mean, if 9/11 truth was Superman, this guy's Lex Luthor, right? I mean, just somebody always got a comment about what we're doing, doesn't like what we do at all, always opening his mouth whenever we have some new initiative. So he's got a show, and Nelson was on it last year. Now you'll say, well, what's wrong with going on there and arguing with a debunker or debating with them, going on a debunker's show? Well, yeah, if you're for 9/11 truth and you're there to debate the evidence or discuss.
You're on mute, Adam. Can't hear anything.
sounding guy, the well-spoken guy is Nick West, and the other guy with sort of the deeper voice. This is our DJ Thermal Detonator. Play it, Thermal Detonator.
Yeah.
First of all, before that, I have to apologize. I did have you on mute, but I realized that putting myself on mute, you
Means
couldn't hear the damn
Hear
audio.
anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could call me a dummy if you want, Steele. That's what you could do.
It's people sometimes liken like conspiracy theories to cults.
Yeah.
Do you see that at all? Do you see like a kind of a cult-like behavior?
It is a cult. It is a cult. I will totally admit it. It is a cult. Very much it's based from, I will have to share, I mean, I put a lot of blame onto it with Alex Jones, but you know, I mean, I'm not saying that kind of belief and thinking system didn't exist before, but you know, we're living in a different age now. It's not just a technology thing with the internet. It's the whole thing just with 9/11. It's a huge event, and it was a spectacular terrorist attack. And unfortunately, you have your opportunists that are making it seem like it's something else than what it was.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, it's totally a cult, and you know, it's unfortunate. It's very easy for people to fall into because there's a lot of emotional attachment to it. So
yeah, I think with cults, like the people often think that cults they usually center around a charismatic leader, like the person who's the guru or whatever. Like in Scientologists have L. Ron Hubbard, or they used to have L. Ron Hubbard. But at some point, I guess, like with a cult, you don't need a leader anymore, and just the belief system of the cult itself takes over. They don't. The Scientologists don't have L. Ron Hubbard anymore, but they're still Scientologists. But with this type of thing, though, with chemtrails and 9/11 and everything, I mean, I guess like Alex Jones is in some ways a central figure, but then that you reject him, like some people in your group started rejecting him because he wasn't extreme enough, maybe. And then they move on to be like a cult of their own, like kind of an offshoot. Yeah, I don't want to like obviously cast everybody who has some suspicions about 9/11 as being cultists, but I'm just referring here specifically to this group of people, back.
It's like a default almost.
Yeah.
It's like that, yeah.
All right, so there you go. That's what Nelson Martins thinks of all of you. You're part of a cult.
Yeah.
I don't know how this guy passes as a 9/11 truth person.
When you espouse falsehoods and you attack people's personas, as you did for the last 10 years to people like Chandler and Costi and Ken Jenkins, yes, you are a cult. And so this is going to be the end of part one to our response to 9/11 FreeFall Radio and Andy Steele. I'm Adam Fitzgerald, host of The Darkened Hour. See you in part two.